considered to maybe save some tires because I might wonder if we can use the red on board with one of the drivers a little further back here tonight because once he's done, there'll be a little bit of
when the next caution should come up and another come out, it will be
quite a bit of tire. And
so now every one of these drivers has gone off their road and we have
It's going to be a blast, and my gosh, can we not wait for that one.
Hello everyone, welcome live to 3Wide TV and beautiful sunny Talladega, Alabama for race number 3 of the Sim Speed Shop Wheelman Showdown here in the American Sim Racing Series Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series. I'm Peter Short, joining me in the booth here for tonight's race at the Talladega Super Speedway is Greg Rentz. And Greg, great to be here at Dega. Going to be a lot of fun with all of the great speeds we're gonna see. The tapered spacers on all these cars, they're not restrictor plates. I mean, they kind of are, but they're not really. But here tonight, the Sim Speed Shop Wheelman Showdown, we're gonna be on a restrictor plate track.
And it's going to be a lot of fun, Peter, because this is the first time this new aero package on the big tracks has hit the Hacksaw PC Premier Series. So we're going to see something we've never seen before here. We're going to see these guys driving with a more modernized aero package for this race. So I'm looking forward to seeing this one unfold here for 94 laps at the biggest track that the big boys hit in the year, 2.66 miles long. Looking forward to this one.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely going to be a fun one. We'll see if we can bring up the point standings here. Greg, why don't you take us through the point standings entering tonight here at Talladega?
As we pull up the point standings, you'll see Greg Evans on top of the board right where he left off last year by picking up the championship. And here he is for Steel Horse Racing with a 339-point mark above Will Worcester Racing's Tyler Seville. Those two had a great battle in the Wheelman Showdown last year as well. This is also race number 3 of the Sim Speed Shop Wheelman Showdown. More on that later. Scott Eckridge, Doug Mullins, and Brian Yazik rounding out the top 5 as you see that rundown there. Peter, a couple surprises up here in the top 10. Who so far that we see there in that top 10 are standing out to you thus far?
Well, I think it's the drivers who are not inside the top 10 at this point in time. We've seen a lot of speed out of Jordan Harnish. We've seen a lot of speed out of AJ Digby. And then we have some drivers up there like Doug Mullins just knocking on the door each and every week, just being consistent each and every race. Will Worcester, he had a little bit of a turnaround last week at Richmond where he started on the pole. We'll see if he can keep that momentum going into tonight. But I'm watching for Jordan Harnish, AJ Digby to knock on the door of the top 10. We've also seen some great runs out of the number 88 Steel Horse Racing Machine of Thomas George this season. Watch for him to try and get into the top 10 as we close in on the playoffs here this season. But we always look around that 20th place mark. Why do we look at that 20th place mark? Because that is a spot where you're guaranteed a starting position here in the American Sim Racing Series Hacksaw PC's series all season long. If you can stay 20th spot in points or above, you're guaranteed that starting spot. John Eckhart, Jackson Van Valkenburg, Nick Curling, so on and so forth. Those drivers, they have to race their way each and every week onto the grid unless they can bump themselves up into the top 20. Now, you did mention, Greg, the Sim Speed Shop Wheelman Showdown. And that is basically a championship within a championship. You get those wheels, those custom wheels for the winners of the Sim Speed Shop Wheelman Showdown. But that has its own standings. And coming into tonight, Scott Eckridge has won both of the races in the Wheelman Showdown so far this season, winning at Atlanta Motor Speedway and at Richmond last week. He has a 21-point advantage over Greg Evans entering Talladega in that battle. Meanwhile, we are now over into the pole shootout here, brought to you by Midwest Simulations. Got to give a big shout out to Midwest Simulations. Make sure you check them out. I'll tell you what, Greg, you're going to have to be pretty fast here tonight at Talladega if you want to start the pole.
Definitely, Peter, and especially with the cars being as close as they are, handling-wise, not just because of the fixed setup, but even normally at Talladega, you see these cars so close in lap times because of the bend restrictor plates, now tempered spacers. We're going to see lap times so close to each other. It's going to be fractions, and we mean fractions of a second, between the pole tonight and possibly starting 25th, 26th, as we take a look here at a couple different cars coming out here with our new 3xTV multi-cam. As you see drivers taking some different strategies here, Peter. What would you do if you're in the driver's seat for this qualifying effort? Are you going to do kind of what we're seeing Scott Eckridge do on top, where he's riding the wall for the first lap? Or are you going to be one of those guys who's kind of riding down at the bottom to try to get as quickly as you can here?
Well, I definitely like what Eckridge is doing. That number 70 machine, of course, coming into tonight, he has 4 wins to his name in the first 9 races. Absolutely stellar out of that number 70 machine. But he's running that high line. He's trying to get that number 70 wound up, try and get as much momentum as he can. We'll see him. This is his first of 2 time laps. He'll stay up there against the wall, get the momentum up. And just really, you don't want to scrub speed up there against the wall. You have less steering input in the race car. You're scrubbing off less speed. But one thing I have noticed in my past qualifications here at Talladega Superspeedway, as well as at Daytona International Speedway, another track where we run the tapered spacers and started off the season this year, you don't really want to run right up next to the wall, Greg. You just want to kind of find that nice line where you're just not scrubbing the tires. As these drivers can hear the tires making contact with the road, excuse me, they can kind of find where that magic line is. You don't want to be right up against that wall, maybe a half line below it, maybe even a full line below it. It kind of just depends on your setup. But you want to be near the top side of the racetrack on lap number 1, that's for sure. And then lap number 2, you bring it right down to the bottom, and you try and get each and every inch you can here in this qualifying. As we see some of these drivers here coming into the tri-oval, I think these are drivers who will be completing their second lap. Now, one thing we did hear, Greg, is that that yellow line is actually inbounds in qualifying. It's not inbounds during the race, but it is inbounds during qualifying. We'll see if any drivers decide to go below that yellow line here in this session.
I saw Michael Larch do it to post a quick time at a 51.984. He's the only driver to go in the 51s right now. Saw him do it in the number 3s. You watch Will Worsler in the number 29. Looks like Tyler Seville in the 17, excuse me. Had the production feed up in the corner and wasn't able to see or get a good look at the number on Kevin Stone's number 17 car, as they try and set the bar here for this race. Right now, it's Michael Larch in the 3, the only driver to go a 51 so far, the 984. Thomas George in second. Remember, he qualified up at the front out at Daytona as well, so he likes these big track qualifying sessions. AJ Digby, Johnny Avila, who's had a lot of speed, still looking for win number 1, and Greg Evans, your top 5.
Well, the times will continue to trickle in. Here's the number 69, Beef Jerky's Cheesecakes Emporium Chevrolet. He's going to come to the line, put in a lap time. You see on the bottom left-hand corner of your screen, that is the number 9 machine, driven here tonight by Adam Hogland, halfway down the backstretch. There he is, working his way off into turn number 3. We're going to quickly turn our eyes over into the chat while the Midwest Simulations pole shootout goes on in the background. We'll figure out who's going to pick up that pole award here in just about 30 seconds. We got Aunt Kathy in the chat. We got Jim Foose saying, hey guys, welcome to Talladega and the Sim Speed Shop Wheelman Showdown Talladega 250. Nikki Warsler saying, hello everyone. Roll Film Productions in the chat as well. Logan Detweiler saying, will there be a 100% Cup Series race at Talladega this weekend? That is something I don't know. We'd have to find out from Mr. Production Truck. But hopefully you can sit back and relax and enjoy some American Sim Racing Series action here tonight on 3 Wide TV. The Midwest Simulations pole shootout has come to an end, and Greg, it's Michael Larch. And that number 3 machine, only driver, like you said, below the 52-second bracket.
Impressive run for Michael Larch here for this qualifying effort. We have moved into our new for 2021 5-minute warm-up period. And Peter, this is going to be these guys' last chance to get the car comfortable where they want it for this 94-lap race. 50% distance tonight, so this is their last chance to get out there and try and get the car exactly where they want it. They have a couple adjustments they can make. They can play around with the steering column. They can play around with the brake bias. They want to get it exactly where they want, and that's what they're going to do here with this 5-minute warm-up period, new for 2021.
Yeah, I was hoping to get a word with Michael Larch, but I don't see him in the Discord that all these drivers use. And speaking of Discord, Greg, there's going to be a lot of communication amongst these drivers here tonight. We have a lot of drivers that are a part of a certain team. I'm just looking up and down the pylon here in Discord. We got one channel that has 8 drivers in it. We got other channels that only have 1 or 2 drivers in it. So kind of a large disparity in some teams. We're probably going to see a lot of teamwork out of those particular drivers who are in the channel with 8 drivers versus some of the other channels that might only have 1 or 2 people. But teamwork is always a thing you see here on these racetracks where we run these tapered spacers. Troy Haight in the number 28 machine out there right now. He will be rolling off in the 28th position, just leading a small train of cars. Behind him is Jeremy Banning and Johnny Avila. Avila in that number 63 machine, Greg, has really been fast. He hasn't been able to get to victory lane, but has been knocking on the door a couple of times. Of course, it has been 2 winners. Greg Evans, your reigning series champion here in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series, and John Eckrich really dominating here tonight. Scott Eckrich, excuse me. Really dominating this season, but Johnny Avila's been knocking on the door.
But Peter, there is issues in the 70 camp. Scott Eckrich, he has fallen out of the session. He has experienced a received throughput falling to an unacceptable level. Right now, Scott Eckrich is not in the session, and with just 2 minutes and 30 seconds before we get to the grid, he's got to hurry up and get back in the session, where he runs in danger of missing the grid, and that would be a disaster here in the number 70.
So we will wait and see. It looks like he's getting back in the session now. Hopefully that those issues don't continue to pop up here throughout the race. Speaking of pop-ups, there's a pop-up right there on the screen for you guys. We're trying to get some stuff booting up. It seems like for some reason Talladega isn't playing nice with some of our software here tonight. But you see a couple of cars running out there on the racetrack running together. That is that group that I was mentioning a little while ago with Johnny Avila as well as Adam Hoagland there in that bright orange number 9 machine. You won't miss that number 9 machine here tonight. Bright orange. In fact, there's a couple of other new paint schemes out there on the racetrack. How about the Farm to House Decor number 3 machine? Michael Larch, great looking paint scheme. And your pole sitter here tonight nonetheless. A couple of other drivers sporting some new looks out there as well. We will kind of highlight them as the race goes on. The number 11 machine of Tyler Seville has a similar look, but has a new name on the hood. Custom paints and die casts on that number 11 machine here tonight. So some cool moves happening here in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series here tonight in the Sim Speed Shop 250. And big shout out to our folks over at Sim Speed Shop. I've been looking at some of their products, Greg, because you know, I'm on the fence. I want to get myself a sim rig, and I know a lot of people here in the series will have their own sim rig. It's just something that has never been necessarily feasible to me, because I always use my PC for other things, out, you know, work and those types of things. I had it for school for many years, so having your main PC in a, you know, in a sim rig is not the most conducive thing. But some of the products that Sim Speed Shop have for sim rigs is super, super cool. So if you are in the market for adding on to a sim rig, or you want to buy a sim rig and you want some cool trinkets, as you see some cars going around there in turn number 3 and 4, make sure you check out our friends over at Sim Speed Shop. We're going to be posting the link a couple times in the chat here tonight. So if you're in the chat, we want to thank you for joining in, and make sure you click on those links and check out what they have to offer, Greg.
Definitely looking forward to helping out all of our great partners here on the 3-wide TV coverage of the Hacksaw PC Premier Series. But here, looks like time has just expired on the warm-up, which means it's time to put up or shut up. We're getting set to go down to the grid.
That's right. Checkered flag is out here on the mini warm-up session, and we'll see what's going on down there on the grid. Every one of these drivers will be popping up here momentarily, but no driver was faster in the qualifying session than Michael Larch, picking up that award. Brought to you by Midwest Simulations. Thomas George will be starting alongside him. Mentioned him a little while ago, Greg, that number 88 machine has been very, very fast. Can he get to victory lane here tonight? AJ Digby, another one of those drivers on the outside of the top 10, trying to bump himself up in the point standings. He'll be starting third with Johnny Avila alongside him on row number 2. On the inside of row number 3 is your points leader, the number 2 machine of Greg Evans, with Alan Young in the 24 to his outside. Michael Krobach, Jordan Harnish on row number 4, and rounding out your top 10 here tonight, John Eckhart and Jamie Moore there, Greg.
Scott Eckrich is going to make it in as he's on the grid in the number 70, rolls off in the 11th position to his outside. Corey Silva, another one of those drivers with a new look this weekend. In the 94, he rolls off in the 12th position. Cheesecake man himself, Adam Jersky, rolling off 13th with Nick Curling to his outside in 14th for car number 10 as the field begins to roll underway here. Kevin Stone, Brian Yazik, 15th and 16th. Woody Mahan and Mark Myers, 17th, 18th, running up the top 20. Tyler Hill and Pete Baskins.
Yeah, in 21st position is the number 29 of Will Warser, was on the pole last week. Won't go back-to-back in the pole category. Doug Mullins, his teammate alongside him, will roll off 22nd. Grant Brown, Braxton DeWeese will roll off 23rd and 24th. Back behind them, the number 92, Evan Black with Jeremy Banning on the outside of row number 13. Richard Fletcher, Troy Haight will be rolling off 28th in the number 28 machine. Michael Whiting, Jared Haggerty rounding out your top 30. And just to take you through the rest of your field here tonight, Adam Hoagland, Steve Yenish, 31st and 32nd. Mitch Brown, Jeff Yenish on row number 17. Jason Stewart, Tim Knott, 35th and 36th. Jackson Van Volkenberg, Broxton Packard, Kevin Klein, and Todd Kirkwood rounding out your field here tonight at Talladega Super Speedway. You see iRacing scores them just a little bit differently, as it sometimes does here. For some of the drivers who did not take time in the qualifying session. 31 drivers, however, took time. The last 9 of the field here tonight did not take any time. But Greg, it's about time to pull those belts tight one last time and get racing here at Talladega. We heard from the series that we actually have a restart zone in effect here tonight. The drivers are going to have to wait to the double L's in the word Talladega in the middle of the tri-oval before they can put the power down, and we'll see how that works out for the field here tonight.
Going to be interesting throwing that extra wrinkle into the race here tonight, and hopefully these drivers they can keep it as green flag and clean as they can, so that doesn't come into effect as much as we have a feeling that it could come in when you come to Talladega. But Peter, the Chevy Silverado is on pit road, which has put the field in the hands of Michael Larch. 94 laps at Talladega. Hope you're ready, because this one's going to be wild.
Green flag set to come out. Michael Larch pacing him down, just waiting to see the drop of the green flag here up at the front of the field. Haven't seen it yet. There it is. Finally, green flag waving here at Talladega. Michael Larch gets us underway. Thomas George to his outside. AJ Digby, Johnny Avila in 3rd and 4th. We're side by side up at the front of the field. I think you're going to see that a lot here tonight, Greg.
I think you're going to see that as well, Peter. A lot of side-by-side racing here. This is the first race on that new aero package that we just discussed here in the pre-race show. A lot of drivers, they have only gotten the laps that they have been able to get at Talladega this week as far as their experience goes. So what will they do with this new aero package? As you see it trying to settle down early, Thomas George able to get by Larch to take the lead. Looks like George wants to lead lap number 1 as the outside lane trying to come in, but right now it looks like the inside's where you want to be.
Yeah, that inside line is very, very strong right now. Outside line just not quite formed up. That's led by Johnny Avila, but the field is led by Thomas George. Here across the start-finish line, he will indeed lead lap number 1 after starting from P2 here tonight. Great jump around the outside. Larch is going to slot into 2nd. Your front 3 are single file. Make that your front 4 as the number 2 machine of Greg Evans able to clear Johnny Avila. He moves up to the top side to try and pick up that number 63 machine, but he's going to drop back in line, and we are side by side pretty much from the 7th position all the way back, folks, to about 30.
Greg Evans once again goes up to the top to pick up Avila. This time he will pick him up to go on board with Jordan Harnage, who was a winner just last night in ASRS competition, winning the Homeland Housing truck race at Milwaukee earlier this week. So Harnage already with a win this season. Still looking for that first Hacksaw PC Premier Series victory though. But at Talladega, this is the true wild card of the series. Anyone can and anyone will win this race if the luck goes their way, and we all just gotta wait till the end of this 94 lap race to see who is in favor of the racing gods tonight.
And speaking of a little bit of luck, Greg, we just had a little bit of luck. We almost had our first accident of the night. Grant Brown with a huge wiggle in turn number 4. That last time by, he was able to get it safe. There was a little bit of contact a little bit further back in the pack. Grant's running back in the 27th position, but I think there was contact with Jeremy Banning in the number 30 machine. Contact in the back, the 18 machine. Doug Mullins, Will Worcester Racing Machine is around. The 9 of Adam Hogland involved. We got cars coming down pit road. Fletcher's on pit road. Caution flag in the air.
Grant Brown, Jared Haggerty also involved in this as well. Just talking about Grant Brown, makes the save. Unfortunately, gets swept up right at the conclusion of this one. Michael, why didn't you see the 44? I think he's okay, but those two in front of him, Brown and Haggerty, both have damage. And there were a lot of cars spinning down and diving onto the pit road to try and dodge it. This all started with Doug Mullins in the 18 getting together with somebody, Peter. We're going to have to take a look at the replay to see exactly what happened.
Yeah, you see that number 9 Cheerwine machine trying to go around the outside. Doug Mullins might have come up the racetrack a little bit, and he goes pinballing down onto the inside of the racetrack. I think that was Troy Haight who shot down pit road on the right-hand side of your screen. You see a lot of damage on Jared Haggerty's number 6 machine. I think I said number 9 machine earlier, but it's the number 6 machine there. I think that's Jeremy Banning in the number 30 who got involved late. Let's keep our eyes here on Troy Haight's number 28 machine and see if we can see when he gets shot down pit road. There it was, right there at the end. He's somehow able to make it on pit road, speeding. But that's, all things considered, I'd say pit road was right at the right spot for Troy Haight right there.
I'll take the speeding penalty that he gets in place of a damaged race car, worse off than it could have been any day. Who was this squeaking through? Look at Troy Haight getting by there and getting it wound up. That was Fletcher on board the 43. Man, you just see just how quickly things can change here in a hurry at Talladega. This is on board with Tim Knott. The accident's going to be up in front of him. He's in this little second pack right here. There you see the smoke, and let's see what he saw as he cuts down to the apron. All you see is smoke, but he backs it down, and looks to me, Peter, like he's going to get through that one scot-free.
Yeah, I think he is going to get through that one scot-free, and luckily able to get it woed down. I know that's one thing, Greg, when you're, far back in the back, especially if you're in like a second pack or something. I have seen so many times drivers in the second pack just not quite react fast enough, and one driver runs over another one. The good news on this one, though, is that second pack, they were all pretty much able to get through this one unscathed. But unfortunately for drivers like Adam Hogland, Jeremy Banning, the number 6 machine here of Jared Haggerty, a lot of those cars heavily involved here in the first accident here tonight at Talladega.
One driver so far has parked it for the night, that being Jeremy Banning in the number 30. As you see him pile in right there in car number 30, gets in the Doug Mullins. He's the first car to officially retire to the trailer. So far, everyone else going to be able to continue. You see the contact between Haggerty and Haight has sent Troy Haight down the pit road. As we come back live here, Thomas George has led every lap thus far. However, we still got a long way to go. We only got 3 green flag laps in there. Working lap number 5 right now. Thomas George leading the way over pole sitter Michael Larch, but the shuffle has begun behind him.
Yeah, that is for sure. Lots of drivers, picking up a couple spots or losing a couple spots there in the early going. But like Jim Foose in the chat says, a wild start to this one here at Talladega. We did see one accident. We almost saw another there in the first 3 laps. But there was a long way to go. And that's what Jim's in the chat saying. This is a long race. 250 miles here tonight. It's not a short one. Yes, these drivers are going fast around this racetrack. Well, not when they're under caution, but when they're under green flag conditions, they're whipping their way around this place almost 200 miles an hour. So if we get green flag racing, the lap count will tick off pretty quickly. But here, running all these laps behind the yellow flag, it can elongate the race. We do have a couple drivers in the back of the pack, though, coming down and topping off with fuel, including Scott Eckrich. Comes into tonight 3rd place in points. Yes, he's won 4 races, but he's only 3rd place in points. The only other driver to get to victory lane this season, the number 11. Well, I say only other driver. The only other driver beyond Eckrich and Greg Evans to get to victory lane, the number 11 of Tyler Seville, sits in 2nd place in points. But up at the front of the field, the pace truck lights have turned off, and that's good news. We're about to get set to go back racing here on 3 Wide TV in the Sim Speed Shop 250 here at Talladega.
You mentioned Scott Eckridge being kind of deep in the points for 4 wins on the year, but the good news is he is the leader of the Wheelman Showdown points, so he does have the lead in that mini series right now that this is race number 3 of. So Scott Eckridge is trying a little bit of different strategy than Greg Evans and getting off sequence with that 2 car. And that's what you got to do at Talladega. You got to try different things and get yourself off sequence with the guys that you know you're racing to just try and get yourself the best possible outcome. No doubt they were going to have different strategies in the 70 camp and the 2 camp. I'm curious to see how it unfolds throughout the day, as those 2 have clearly been the strongest cars of the season. Not taking away from any of the other drivers, because we've seen some guys with some great runs here this season, but Evans and Eckridge, they seem to have just been on an entirely different level this year to start it off.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, we got to speak last week to Greg Evans, and he says, you know what? I don't like these super speedway tracks. I hate them. Of course, he won the opening race of the season back at Daytona. That was, of course, the Hacksaw PC's 250 to start off the season, but he doesn't like him. I mean, he's up there in the top 5 once again in that iRacing iFlag number 2 machine, but he has won 4 races. Most of those wins have been on not super speedway races, and those are the racetracks where he really excels at. You know, a lot of people, there's a lot of luck that goes into a win. You mentioned it a little while ago that here at Talladega, you just need things to go your way. It's a long race, and you need some drafting partners out there. But I do know the number 88 and the number 2, they see eye to eye with one another. Will they work together here up at the front of the field? Look at Avila, another Chevrolet. So 3 Chevrolets in the inside groove, leading that inside groove here. When we go back green flag, there's the double L's in Talladega. So the number 88 machine, he can hit the loud pedal whenever he wants to, leaving a little late here. There's the green flag. We're back racing at Dega.
March underway on the outside in the number 3, the pole sitter trying to get it back. Remember, it was George on the outside who was able to break free in the early stages. This time he's able to get it on the inside, though, with help from Greg Evans, as Michael Krobach in the number 72 has kind of fallen back there from the number 3 of Larch, as Digby left him out to dry to hook up there with the Chevys on the front row. Larch is going to fall back to Krobach before he can start his move back up on the outside.
Now, we had contact in the back of the pack on that restart. Mitch Brown, the number 36 machine, rear-ended on that restart by Evan Black. They just didn't quite get rolling in time. Just a little bit of an accordion effect, perhaps because up at the front of the field, they waited for so long to get on the loud pedal. Mitch Brown went around. You see he's well back from the pack, lost the draft. And we'll have to see how that works out for one of your reigning series champions in the field here tonight. Thomas George, however, leading the field right now. Avila jumped up to the top side there. Greg trying to pull that high line now to try and get to the race lead.
Keep your eyes on that 63 car, Peter. I've been watching him throughout the course of this early stage of the season. He has had speed just about every week, and it's just a matter of time before he breaks through and gets that first Hacksaw PC Premier Series victory. And at a plate race, you know you've got to have speed first off to be able to get up there and compete in the draft like he is. He's been close several times. We had a lot of laps so far this season. Go on board with him right now as he tries to get a run on the outside of Thomas George and trying to become the first driver not named Thomas George to lead the lap. And he's going to do it as he crosses the line just ahead of Thomas George, 6/1000th of a second. Move Avila to the lead. So once again, Avila going to get a lap led here early in this one, working lap number 9 now, 8 in the books. George got the first 7 before Avila gets the lead coming through the finish line this last time by.
Yep, but as soon as Johnny Avila got free of the 88 machine, he dropped down to the bottom. Now he's going to jump back up to the top side as that high line started to form up. You can see now there was kind of a ripple through that top line when he went up to block the number 3 of Michael Larch. And a little bit further back behind them, back around Braxton DeWeese, they kind of had to shuffle around to stay lined up, not run into everyone. But for right now, Avila continues to hold on to the race lead, and Michael Larch almost able to clear the 88. He does clear the 88 machine of Thomas George. They now drop to the low side, both Avila and Larch, as they head off into turn number 1. That's going to leave Michael Krobach, the HPPsimulation.com forward, who just doesn't seem to have any luck here in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series. He's now leading that high groove right in front of the number 24 machine of Alan Young, who I know wants to get his season turned around. Be right on board with Twitter verified AJ Digby in the number 14 machine. He's the 5th car on the inside groove, looking at the back of the number 2 with Greg Evans.
Digby was the driver who joined the series midway through last year and turned a lot of heads in the second half of the season, including that win at Iowa. He's been shut out since then, but he has always impressed us every single week in that number 14 car, the satellite driver to Will Worsler Racing. Got John Eckhart behind him. Eckhart has impressed me here, Peter. He's been keeping his nose clean. That Camping World entry right behind Digby, the Toyota number 45. He's done a nice job in the early stages, now sitting in the 6th position after starting in the top 10. Kind of lost some ground in the early stages, climbing back up now. Nice run so far for Eckhart in the 45. Is now looks like that run the outside lane has been given up, as all but 3 drivers have made their way down to the bottom. Looks like now the inside is where you want to be.
Yeah, and you know what? I've seen quite a few races with this current package, Greg. And when you get a numbers game like this, when you get 3 versus 20 cars, the 3 cars aren't going to win. They just aren't. Not with this current package. You got to do a lot of pinching. You got to do a lot of side drafting if you want to try and make it work. We used to see it with the old package I used to run, that you could keep up and you could actually kind of make those moves if you were really well formed up. But it seems like with this current package, just 3 cars isn't going to do it. You can see that number 72 of Michael Probach sliding back through the pack. Alan Young and Jamie Moore. Moore is in the number 82 machine. Got Maverick on the rear end of that Chevrolet Camaro. He's sliding back with them. They're probably just hoping to find a spot where they can get down to that yellow line here, but unable to do so as it's a little bit of a freight train down there right now.
This is something that's really come in with Talladega lately. Daytona as well, but not as bad as we see at Talladega. The inside line, and you see them really try to hug that yellow line as much as they possibly can. Remember, we talked about this in the pre-race. Qualifying, you could go below that yellow line, not getting a penalty. Now that we're in a race situation, that double yellow rule is back in effect. You cannot have any part of your car below the yellow line if you wish to make a pass, or you're going to have to forfeit that position right back. So this is going to be kind of a race of patience and a race of attrition to really see when do you want to make your moves, as Nick Curling has now picked up the outside line, so an extra car on the outside is trying to begin helping him out, as Curling in that 10 car leading the group. There you see him on the outside with Probach behind him. What does the outside lane do with every car that they gain? At what point here do you think the outside line will have another shot? It's Tyler Seville. You see him kind of peeking back up there. A couple other cars thinking about going high. At what point do you think the outside lane starts moving? How many cars do you think will be up there?
That's a great question. I don't really know the answer to that. This current package really depends on how many people you have in a pack. If you have 20 cars, I think you're going to have at least 7 or 8 of those on the top line to be fully effective. I mean, we see right now that Nick Curling is trying to gain some ground. It seems like he's doing a good job of keeping with the number 14 of AJ Digby, so maybe my number of 7 or 8 is a little bit unconservative, but we'll have to wait and see if that outside group can actually close in and, more importantly, make the pass. As Greg Evans in the number 2 machine, he's liking what he's seeing out of that. Nope, take that back. He said nope. And that's one thing you got to do as a driver here at Talladega, Greg. You have to assess the situation. Sometimes you say, you know what, let me try up here, and you very quickly realize, nah, that's probably not a smart move, and you duck back in. But I'm going to eat my words here because that outside line is moving.
But they picked up 2 more cars now. Tyler Seville and Pete Haskins have gone up to the top. We're at 6 cars now. You said 7 or 8. Hey, 6 is pretty close to that, and this seems to be working, so I'll give it to you that one. There needed about 6 cars to really start making some headway there. Once Seville and Baskins made their move up there, that was when you really started to see it. Now Braxton DeWeese in the 5 car makes the move up to the top. So, again, like we said, the more cars that go up there, the better that high line is going to be, and we saw those drivers one at a time just trying to make their way up there, saying, you know what, if we can get 1 or 2 more of us up here, it would work out for him. But they're all chasing the man that we're on board with right now. Johnny Avila took the lead back on lap number 8 and has not looked back since. Here working lap number 16, Michael Larch, the pole sitter, directly behind him, staying in line. But you saw it at the camera, that outside line being led by Nick Curling, last year's Sonoma winner, just starting to peek up there a little bit more and just saying hello to the mirror of our race leaders.
And I'm sure that Nick Curling is licking his chops and rubbing his hands because we got a very tricky road course upcoming here in the near future. We're going to be going to the Circuit of the Americas in a couple of weeks right here on 3Y TV, the American Sim Racing Series, Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series. So just another twisty track, much like we saw last week at Sonoma. There is Mitch Brown about to go one lap down in the number 36 machine. We highlighted that he was involved in a little incident there on the one and only restart we've had here tonight, coming just around lap number 7. And you see him now going one lap down. He lost that draft. He's going to hope to get back in line, try and pick up the draft and not lose any more time. The good news for Mitch is if a caution flag was to come out, he would be the lucky dog. But the field is also catching up to a two-car tango between Adam Hogland and Evan Black. Both of those cars involved in that first incident, and right now about a third of a lap or so from going a lap down. There they are working their way out of turn number 2 onto the backstretch right now. Well, let's pick up your race leaders because Johnny Avila in the number 63 machine, you see the field racing their way now onto the backstretch. So not a whole lot of difference between those two stragglers and the lead pack right now. Still led by Avila, but that outside line, Greg Evans again thought about it. He ducks back in the number 2 iRacing iFlag Chevrolet.
He was up top there for about half a lap in that number 2 the previous time before he decided to fall back in front of Digby. Once again, thinking about it, but I think Digby might be having enough of it and saying, you know what, if you want to go up there, go right ahead because I want to take that spot away from you and get up there and run with Thomas George. So I think if Evans goes up again, I think Digby's not going to be as patient with him this time and say, you know what, no, I'm taking the spot. If you go up and give it away once again, as Evans again, you see him kind of peeking high there. Although that time George was also high in front of him, so Evans may have just been trying to stay with his tire tracks. But that outside lane is beginning to lose momentum here, Peter, as they seem to have gotten disorganized. And a couple of other drivers have fallen out. A couple new drivers have come in. Outside line getting a little disorientated, and that has allowed the inside line to pull back ahead as Evans once again goes to the high side. And look at Digby. He tried, but Evans said, nope, not this time. And he falls back in front of Digby. But we saw Digby making a move into 14.
So we've been green flag now for about 12 laps here at Talladega. That 2 of Evans continuing to kind of peek out, just saying, you know what, I'm interested in trying to go up there, but every time he does so, he ducks back into the inside group, just kind of fending off the number 10 machine of Nick Curling right now in that really good-looking Curling Design Lab Toyota Camry. Running that high line, leading Michael Krobach, Alan Young, Jamie Moore up there, Tyler Seville, and they're trying to pick up the number 39 machine of Baskins, the DMLC Racing Channel Ford. Looks like Braxton DeWeese, the number 5 machine, just jumped up to the high side. Jordan Harnish on the high line. So that high line starting to come in here, and we're probably about, I'd say 15 to 20 laps away from these drivers having to make their first pit stops of the night because a lot of this pack hasn't yet pit tonight.
Fuel blend, though, from our super secret driver in the field said 36 laps or so. We're working lap number 21 now. With the caution thrown in, you figure that's going to add about another lap, maybe 2 onto that. So, yeah, I think 15, 20 laps from now, if we stay green, we're going to see these guys all come in.
You see the field now catching the 2 stragglers that we mentioned just a little while ago. That is Adam Hogland and Evan Black going a lap down. You're looking out back of the number 92 machine. Got all those cars racing on by, and that's not what Evan Black wanted to have happen here tonight, because I'll tell you what, we saw such a great race out of that number 92 machine last week at Richmond. Oh, in the wall as well. That's just going to make matters worse. Evan Black had a 3rd place finish last week, Greg, and here tonight, Talladega, things not going his way early.
No doubt wanted to build on the top 3 at Richmond the last week. And coming to Talladega, the ultimate wild card, knew he was looking forward to seeing if he could even make it a couple spots better, but unfortunately going a lap down here on lap number 22. Work to be done here for the number 92, and it's going to be a long rest of the race for him if he's pinned another lap or pinned a lap down here for a while.
But the good news is we now have a race for the lucky dog here. We got a couple cars one lap down, Adam Hogland, Evan Black, and Mitch Brown. So we'll see those drivers try and get back on the lead lap. For all of you Mitch Brown fans in the chat, he unfortunately has lost the draft again. So the Jerky Lodge Toyota Camry not having a good night. I'm sure he will try and get some of that damage repaired when he can. Adam Hogland, the number 9 machine, on pit road right now. He's coming to his pit box. We'll see whether or not this is a scheduled or unscheduled pit stop, but Hogland comes to his pit box. We have had a couple of retirements here tonight. Jared Haggerty in the number 6 machine recently pulled off. Doug Mullen still sitting in his pit box, but hasn't gone anywhere now in quite some time. Jeremy Manning has taken it behind the wall and will be the first retirement here tonight at Talladega. But right now, it is continuing to be Johnny Avila leading the inside groove. The number 2 of Greg Evans continues to look up, and AJ Digby in the number 14 machine didn't really want to let Greg Evans in. Digby was trying to leave that number 2 iRacing High Flag Chevrolet up to the high side, but Evans just able to slice back into that bottom groove, but it did kind of stack up that bottom groove a little bit, and that gives that outside groove of Nick Curling a little bit of a run as they work through turn number 3 and 4. I like the looks of that number 10 Toyota up there.
I was watching that move back there. Who was that made the move down to the inside in front of Adam Jersky? Is that possibly the 82 of Jamie Moore, who was on the outside line and kind of forces his way down in front of Jersky in the middle of the corner? That could have got hairy there as Jersky had to back out of it, but it seems to have settled down now deep in the, about middle of this pack. All still chasing Avila, who's left the most laps tonight. He took the lead on lap number 8, has not looked back since, going on board here with, I believe this is on board with the 82 of Jamie Moore, as he gets around Crowbox position, now going after Curling. And he got to the inside, and he has gained 2 spots already now as he gets past Curling. Kind of forced his way down there in front of Jersky. Don't think Jersky was too fond of it, but he's going to have to work with him for now. As Larch is trying to take a peek to the outside, up in front. You saw it there on the bottom left. Larch is beginning to peek, beginning to plot his move to try to make his way around and get to the lead over Avila here.
Jamie Moore, you saw it right there on the 3-wide TV multicam. He just jumped up to the high side. He got such a big run on the back of John Eckhart's number 45 Camping World Toyota that he jumped up to the high side and is trying to get a run to full level with the number 14 of AJ Digby. So, drops down to the inside, gains some position, and then all of a sudden jumps back up to the high side, now being pushed by Nick Curling in the number 10 machine. Maybe Moore wasn't liking what he was seeing out of some of the pushing characteristics up in front of him. He says, you know what, let me see if I can get to that group. Let me see if I can get to the front and see if that number 10 of Curling can push me to the lead. But Curling not on his back bumper just yet. We'll see whether or not they can get formed up. But that outside line really looking a little broken right now. You got the 10 of Nick Curling, and then a ways back to number 24 of Alan Young, and even further back to the Beef Jerseys Cheesesteak Emporium, number 27 of Jordan Harnish, who's started to make some noise with the 55 of Brian Yazek.
They're trying to break in that extreme outside. I like to call it the third groove up there right against the wall. 4 cars in it, and it looks like all 4 are out of the Loud Pedal stable as Harnish, Yazek, Mahan, and Eckrich all right there working together up on the high side. So Loud Pedal beginning to make their way up.
I remember some of those cars, Greg, they pitted under the one and only caution flag that we had here tonight. Now, granted, that caution flag was only about 3 or 4 laps into the race, but Scott Eckrich, we know he topped off with fuel. I think Woody Mahan did as well in the number 84 Alliance RV Ford. So maybe they can go a little bit further, because as these laps continue to click away, we're getting closer and closer to green flag pit stops. And you know what, Greg? Races at Talladega and Daytona can be very quickly won or lost on pit road. You can make a mistake here at Talladega. If you lose the draft because you have a bad pit stop, your day could be done in an instant. And speaking of day possibly being done in an instant, the number 2 machine of Greg Evans, he continued to poke high. He's in the sucker hole right now, Greg. He's dropping back like a rock because he's got no drafting buddies, finally able to get some buddies up in front of him. But for the first time here tonight, starting to see some good 3-wide action there in the mid-pack.
That's exactly what I talked about 5 laps ago. Evans once again peaked high. Digby, who is still right behind him, finally saw his opportunity, got the nose in front, and by the time Evans realized he was going to be stuck on the outside, if he didn't get down, Digby was already there. Watch, you see him go high, try to pick it up. Evans tries to go down, but Digby's already there, and the outside lane muscles by as well, and just like that, Evans is going to fall back. He could be outside the top 10 here when we come by to the line, and yes, he has scored 11, so Greg Evans goes from up there being in a position to strike for the lead to outside the top 10 in about half a lap.
We have had another retirement here tonight. The number 9 machine, Adam Hogland, has taken it behind the wall. Evan Black in the number 92 also taking his machine behind the wall. So both of those cars, day done. Mitch Brown, 34th position, is your last runner out there on the racetrack. He is the only car 1 lap down for right now. However, the field is once again catching up to the back end of a couple of stragglers. Those are the 00 of Grant Brown and number 28, Troy Hay. We saw the 28 involved in that accident that we had around lap number 3. I think we also saw a little bit of damage on the 00 right at the start of the night. So both of those cars appear to be damaged and off the pace, and the field will catch them and blow on by them here momentarily. That third groove, I think, Greg, they saw that they were catching a couple of stragglers, so they were able to duck back into the second groove. And for right now, that second line appears to have good car count. They just don't seem to be gaining any ground right now on Johnny Avila, who has been commanding up at the front here over the last 20 laps or so.
And they might be trying to just wait until they get through these 2 stragglers here to try to make their move back up. That outside groove being led right now by Michael Krobach, Greg Evans and Alan Young behind him, Jordan Harnish, Brian Yazik, teammates to Krobach lined up behind them, as well Mahan and Eckert. So the lap panel drivers have done a nice job sticking with each other. Alan Young tried something there to go up to the extreme high side. Maybe he was trying to catch a little side draft off the 2 of Evans if he could have got a big enough run. He falls in, doesn't lose any ground, but now that the outside lane is clear of the traffic and they have a good number of cars lined up, I think you're going to start to see them making their way up once again on the outside, and here they come as the inside lane does a little bobbing and weaving here as Krobach trying to make a move up on the outside. Krobach leading the high line. He's going for 4th right now on Digby.
And, I think a lot of people in the chat are probably rooting for that number 72 of Michael Krobach after he has just had a disastrous start to the season. Finished 28th last week at Richmond. He hasn't had the strategy calls right. He has been involved in accidents. Just things not going all too well. He is 13th place in points, but his best finish this season came at Auto Club. Race number 3 of the season. Finished inside the top 10 in 8th. His only other top 10 came at Las Vegas, but Martinsville finished 39th. In fact, at Martinsville, Greg, he ended up on the pit wall. That's right. He was perched on the pit wall, perfectly balanced in that number 72 machine, and things just not going his way. But at least for right now, things are going his way as he gets a big push from the points leader, Greg Evans.
And it's so hard to believe that the number 72 of Krobach, who, by the way, won 2 championships in ASRS competition last year, winning both the B cars and the trucks championships last year. Hard to believe he's never visited victory lane here in the Premier Series in that number 72, especially with how much success he's had in those other cars. He has never won a Hacksaw PC's Premier Series race. Just seems like once you get in these cup cars, the luck just goes out the window for Krobach, the driver out of north of the border up in Canada. And here he is, though, making a run on the top of the racetrack. He might be able to be the first driver to take the lead away from Avila since lap number 8. Right now on the outside, he may have a shot.
Yeah, Krobach once again getting a good shove from the number 2 of Greg Evans, but similarly, Avila gets a good shot from the number 3 of Michael Larch. Your pole sitter here tonight picked up that Midwest Simulations Pole Award at the beginning of the show, and that number 3 is no slouch, trying to keep that 63 up front. We'll see who leads this time at the line here at Talladega, and it will be the Canadian driver, the number 72, Michael Krobach, your third different leader here tonight at Talladega Superspeedway. He follows Johnny Avila and the number 88 machine of Thomas George to lead laps here tonight.
That's big for the 72 because, Peter, he is finally able to get that monkey off his back and lead laps here in the Hacksaw PC Series. The luck has just been so terrible. For Krobach right now, that's got to feel like a win to get up there and lead laps. He's got the defending series champion right behind him. Those were your two champions last year. Evans, the Premier Series champion, and the Wheelman Showdown championship, or champion. Krobach, you won both Development Series championships. Your two champions in 2020, 1-2 on the board right now.
Absolutely, and of course, closing in, more importantly, on green flag pit stops. And I'll tell you what, Greg, out there on the racetrack, you know where I want to be coming down to my pit box? I want to be the first car onto pit road. I want to be able to control my destiny. I want to be able to go down to the inside wall if I want to, or stay high. I want to be able to kind of pick what lane I'm going to get to. Get on the brakes, because that's where you're going to be the most comfortable. I'm sure some of these drivers practice getting onto pit road. We've seen it this season here in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series that getting on pit road is extremely, extremely important. And Michael Krobach, if he can stay out front here for the next 3 or 4 laps, he will be able to dictate when people come down pit road. It's also important that he's on that inside groove, Greg, because that, of course, is the easiest access to pit road. You really don't want to be on that high groove when you want to come down pit road, and it looks like we got some drivers, Braxton DeWeese, Jamie Moore, getting their hands out the window right now, saying, I'm coming down pit road, so we're going to have pit lane busy this time by.
So pit road getting set to be a busy place here. As they come down. The question is, though, who all intends to make their stop this time? We've seen a couple of them say, I'm coming, but no one really up front yet. We'll see how this goes off of turn number 4. Who's coming on the pit road? Krobach's coming. Oh, Avila gets hit from behind. He hangs on to it, though. That could have been a lot worse than it was, as the first batch of green flag pit stops is on. And the field's locking up the tires, getting down the road. But, man, that could have been close for Avila. About half the field comes down here for this first batch of pit stops.
Yeah, Avila got hit from behind by the number 3 machine. We also saw Greg Evans. He had to lock up the tires to try and get down to pit road speed. But beyond the 63, with his little mishap with the number 3 of Michael Larch and Greg Evans locking up the tires, pretty much everyone else looked to be fairly cordial getting to pit road. On the right-hand side of your screen, you see the rest of the cars out there, led by Brian Yazik, Jordan Harnish, and the number 14 machine of AJ Digby. They're 3 wide right now. I'm curious to know if all these cars are coming down pit road here, Greg, because this could be messy.
This is going to get hairy here in just a moment. No one coming this time, and I think that may have not exactly been by design, because that could have been disastrous if some of these guys up on the top row had tried to come down. Definitely a good move there by everyone to stay green this time.
And I'm getting word the number 2, number 63, and possibly Alan Young in the number 24 machine, speeding penalties on pit road. Evans finally able to roll. Avila finally able to roll back out there onto the racetrack. Alan Young is sitting in his pit box right now in the Young Gun Creations Chevy Camaro. He's the only car on pit road. You see him getting tires, and Greg, that's something you don't typically see here at Talladega, is picking up 4 fresh tires. Most of the time you see drivers kind of only take 2 under green flag conditions, no less. But for right now, Greg Evans, Johnny Avila, your points leader in the 2 machine, is going to be in a whole heap of trouble here with that pit road speeding penalty.
That's going to be a disaster for him, especially that this race has been green since that initial restart back on lap number 7. Green and green since then, as you see our field, these are the guys that were already on pit road coming up into turn number 3 right now. Those are the leaders down there on the bottom left, led by Brian Yazik in the number 55. Pete Baskins is there. The 84 Mahan is there. Eckers is there. A lot of the Loud Pedal Motorsports Fords right there up at the front. And some of them are coming down. They're going to be led by Digby into number 14. Adam Jersky coming down, and a couple of others in the back there. Will Warsaw Racing's Tyler Seville coming down. A couple more drivers out of the screen. So the next batch on pit road, that's going to leave just this initial group of about 8 cars left that have yet to pit.
Yeah, and out of those 8 cars, 6 of them are on the lead lap. Brian Yazik, Woody Mahan, Scott Eckrich in that group. Jordan Harnish, Michael Whiting, Mark Myers as well. Corey Silva, the number 94 machine, overshot his pit box. That's a mental error you can make getting on pit road, especially with the brake package you run here at Talladega, similar to what you run at Daytona. These things just don't want to stop here. They like to go fast, and they run very small brakes, Greg. So when you get down on pit road and you get on the brakes, they just don't want to stop. They have a tendency to break loose on you. Just a whole bunch of things. You really have to corral these cars to get them slowed up to get to, A, pit road speed, but also to keep them within the white lines of your box. Here's the rest of the cars coming down pit road, and you can see Scott Eckrich coming down, Woody Mahan there. There's the 55 of Brian Yazik. There's the 27 machine, Jordan Harnish. We mentioned he's had a lot of pace, and there's the kind of the pack right now that they're racing, led by right now Braxton DeWeese in that group with Michael Krobach. Good pit stop by the number 5 Blaze Design Chevrolet to kind of leapfrog that group, but we'll have to see how all things sort out. There's AJ Digby down there on the inside line with the number 69 of Adam Jersky. They're trying to get up to speed. They're trying to stay with this pack, and I think they very well might here as they go through the trial. Well, here's this next group of cars coming off pit road. It doesn't look good right now for Brian Yazik in this group because the pack has caught them.
And here comes that pack on the outside. You see a couple more drivers making their way off, being led by Braxton DeWeese and the number 5, Krobach George Eckhart, lined up behind him. On board now with Braxton DeWeese, the Miamisburg, Ohio driver, the rookie here in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Series, and he is looking very strong here tonight in the number 5, showing a lot of patience, and here it is paying off here for the time being.
And I'll tell you what, Greg, you're never going to believe this. 3rd place in points. Winner of 4 races this season, just like Greg Evans, speeding on pit road. Wow. Both Eckrich and Greg Evans. 8 wins between them in the first 9 races. Both of them pit road speeding penalties. And folks, if you're wondering what a pit road speeding penalty here at Talladega is like, well, they had a 55-second pit stop, each one of those drivers. You compare that to some of the drivers up the front of the field, 13.6 seconds for Braxton DeWeese. You do the math. That's 32 seconds that they... Oh, I take that back. 40 seconds they just lost here at Talladega. That's just about a lap here around this 2.66 mile super speedway.
And here's the thing. Once you have that problem, it just proceeds to get worse and worse and worse if you're not in the draft, because now you're having to run. We saw Evans hooked up with just the Vila, and Eckrich was all by himself back there. We saw that just a moment ago compared to what we see on screen right now. Going off into turn number 1 with this lead pack of roughly 12 or so cars all hooked up in a train on the bottom. DeWeese leading the way over Krobach. That's going to really play a damper into guys like Evans and Eckrich and Avila, who are just trying to hold on to the lead lap right now. This race could very much see a big shakeup in not just the points, but the Wheelman Showdown points as well.
And one of the drivers I'm most impressed with in this front pack is the number 94, Corey Silva, because he missed his pit box. So he must have had a stellar job getting down onto pit road to not only miss his pit box, but come out and still hold on to that lead train. You see some of the pit stop times there with DeWeese having a lightning quick 13.7. That's about 1.3 seconds faster than Michael Krobach, and about the same for the cars around him. Jackson Van Volkenberg in the number 12 machine. He started all the way back in 37th here tonight, now running in 5th. There's Tyler Seville, Will Warser, Corey Silva. His timing's kind of screwed up because he missed his pit bombs and all that there. But AJ Digby and Adam Jersey, some long pit stops. You keep going back. Kind of cool to see this graphic here, Greg, because you can see the pit stop time and really how it affects some of the drivers.
It's really doing a phenomenal job here showcasing exactly what these guys are having to deal with in all these different aspects of a plate race. This isn't just hammer down, go for 94 laps and hope for the best. No, you have so many factors at play here. As you see right there on the left side of your screen, the intervals between everybody here in this front pack of about 12 or so cars here riding in the neat single file line on the bottom. Up on the top, the interval continues throughout the field. But this group right here, they've broken away very nicely over the rest of the pack. And of these guys right now, who do you think is sitting in the prime position of this group on screen right now? Is it the leader, Deweese? Is it Krobach in second, who is having a fantastic run but has no teammate support with him right now? Or is it these guys deeper in the field? Because I see a couple of Will Worcester racing cars hooked up together right now in the middle of this line.
You know, I with this draft package, the way it is, when you have about 12 cars, I think you're going to have to get about 5 cars lined up on that high line to really start to make inroads. I think that's going to be the case. We kind of saw that earlier. You needed kind of 5 or 6 to kind of start to close in on the front few. Right now, I really like what Braxton Deweese is. I know, you know, being up at the front of the field is always where you want to be. But here with this current draft package, you're going to have to get a bunch of cars line up, work together. You highlighted, Greg, that not a lot of teammates in this front pack. There's a couple, but not a whole lot of them. And it just probably won't have that ability to get a formed movement on that high group. So as long as Deweese is leading, I think he's going to stay down there right on the yellow line and continue to pull this train of cars, which goes all the way back to Michael Lart in the 11th position. Brian Yazek in the number 55 machine, HPPsimulation.com forward. He's leading a small group of cars as well. You got Grant Brown, Michael Whiting, Steve Yenish, Nick Hurling, Jeff Yenish, Kevin Klein, Kevin Stone, Jordan Harnish, Woody Lahan, Jamie Moore in that group as well. But then you have a big gap back to the next couple of cars. Tim Knott, Alan Young, Pete Baskins are all kind of running together. But
I thought I saw someone get shuffled deep in that first pack, but that was actually just a lapper car of Troy Haight right there. My apologies on that one. This group is beginning to get a little bit of slicing and dicing going, though, as they try to settle things down. This is deep in the field.
Yeah, this is the third train of cars. This is the third train of cars, sorry to cut you off there, that is currently led by that number 39 of Pete Baskins, currently running in the 23rd position, right in front of Alan Young in his number 24 race car. But you can see the gap right there between the first place machine, that is Braxton Deweese, going off into turn number 3 right now. And then you have this group, 22nd place, number 39 machine of Pete Baskins. He was able to pick up a position last lap, but that just shows, Greg, that that's a huge gap here at Talladega. I mean, your leaders almost at the start-finish line. They're still mired in turn 3 and 4.
Yeah, a moment ago, Tim Knott, the tail end of this pack, was leading this group, and he got shuffled all the way to become the caboose of this pack. You see him right there on the outside, trying to get a run here on these guys in front of him. On board with him as he tries to get past the 04 of Mark Myers, and he's just going to fall back in line in the Gunskins entry. Now, when you're at the tail end, when you're the caboose like Tim Knott is, but you're able to get a run on the car in front of you, in this case it's Mark Myers in the 04. See right here, he's able to back off, get a nice run on the outside. What do you have to do to try to complete this pass and try to get up there with Fletcher? Do you side draft him, or do you just try to pin it and hope for the best? What's the best move if you're Tim Knott right now?
I'm just surprised he's running up there and not staying in line. You know, you kind of want to stay right up behind the 04 machine there of Mark Myers and see if you can help this group. I mean, right now they're bleeding time. They're bleeding time to the race leaders. That group of cars is currently 12.5 seconds behind Braxton Deweese. Granted, they have quite a bit of time on Todd Kirkwood, who's the next car all by his lonesome out there in the number 86 machine. And then it's even further back to Scott Eckridge, Greg Evans, and Johnny Avila. Greg, we were talking about those 3 drivers. Between them, Eckridge, Evans, and Avila, they have 8 wins this season, and Avila has been very, very quick himself, but they find themselves 43 seconds behind the race lead at this current juncture.
They have hooked up together because they really don't have a choice, Peter. They are across the finish line just now. They have got to stay together. They've got to stay in sync. They cannot afford to make any moves right now on each other. They have to stay in line or risk losing a lap. There they are, coming off of turn number 2 right now. And they're only about, I'd say 8 seconds ahead of the lead pack. That freight train being led by Braxton Deweese is coming. They cannot afford to make any moves or make any mistakes right now, these 3 cars, and they just made one as Avila losing touch with them. And with the leaders coming in a big hurry, Avila is going to have to pull back up on them as quickly as he can, because there is the lead pack trying to close in. There is Eckridge, Evans, and Avila trying to hold on to the lead lap. How big would this be if the leaders can lap 3 of the strongest cars all season in one?
Yeah, you can see that 29th place machine. We're looking out back of the 29th place 70 machine of Scott Eckridge at those cars back behind him. And that gap between that group and the race leader is getting smaller and smaller every single lap. One of your former series champions, the number 36 machine, Mitch Brown, has peeled it onto pit road, and it looks like the Jerky Lodge number 36 Toyota Camry will be going no further. Just came down onto pit road, took a fast tow back to his pit box, so I think that will be it for one of your former series champions. So not a good night here for the last 2 champions here of the American Sim Racing Series, Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series.
Good news for Evans, the defending champion, is his night's not necessarily done yet, but it's been a long night, and every lap that clicks away under green here, it's less and less time he has to work with. Right now, if you're Evans and Eckridge right now, you're just hoping for a caution. Avila as well. You're just hoping for a caution before those leaders get to you. As you see right now, this is the second pack, and a lot of teammates hooked up in this one. You've got Yazik, you've got Crowbot. Or not Crowbox, excuse me, you got Mahan up there. The Yenish brothers are in this pack as well. We haven't mentioned them yet. Steve Yenish up there in this pack, the number 23. They were fast in practice, both Steve and his brother Jeff were. Jeff up in this pack as well in the 89. Haven't mentioned the Yenish brothers yet. They were strong in practice, but they've been kind of quiet here so far in this race. They're just kind of playing the waiting game as well to see what can happen the rest of the distance.
So one thing that I was noticing a little while ago, Greg, was that second pack of cars, led by the number 55 machine of Brian Yazik, was keeping pace with the front pack. Well, that isn't the case anymore. The gap between Braxton Deweese and Brian Yazik, 1st to 12th, has started to grow larger now to 6.7 seconds. So I'm not sure if it's that second group not staying lined up as much as they need to, or whether or not Braxton Deweese, is just pulling a very fast train up at the front of the field. I'm not 100% sure, but for Brian Yazik in his situation, Greg, that just feels defeated. You feel like you can't do anything. You can't reel them in lap after lap. You're starting to lose ground. Here again, we'll see what the time difference is when they go across the stripe this time. Half a second that time. Braxton Deweese was half a second faster than the number 55 of Brian Yazik. I mean, it is just absolutely heartbreaking if you're the number 55 machine, because you're just watching those dots disappear off into the distance.
And I think you're seeing it right there on screen. There's your smoking gun right there. That second line is not able to stay in sync with each other, where every time we look up at that first line, they are in a straight single file line. Yet you're seeing it right there. This second group not doing a well enough job of staying in line with each other to make a run at Deweese. Talked about several things, and right there's your comparison right there. On the right is the lead pack. See how neat and single file they are compared to what's going on here in the bottom left with this pack shuffling positions right now. There's your smoking gun right there. That's why they're losing the ground.
Now, of course, we say this. All it takes is for a caution flag to come out for the fields to be all back together. But in the off chance the race does continue to go caution-free, which, we've been caution-free now. Of course, that's probably the kiss of death. We've been caution-free since about lap number 7. I mean, we're over the halfway mark. We missed that, Greg. A couple laps ago was the halfway mark here in tonight's Sim Speed Shop Talladega 250 here on 3 Wide TV. But as these laps continue to tick away, you know, we also get closer to green flag pit stops. We're still quite a ways away. We're still about 16 to 20 laps away, I'd say, from most of the field coming down and making their second green flag pit stop of the night. But these drivers will start to creep into the back of their minds, and we might see that front pack start to get a little bit racy. Because remember what I said, Greg, you really want to be that first car coming out the road. You want to be the leader. You want to be able to pick what line you're coming down onto pit road. We saw all those drivers kind of fan out, scatter around, and unfortunately it didn't work out for Johnny Avila after that contact with the number 3 of Michael Larch. In fact, Larch here in the number 3 machine running right at the back of this front train now, whereas he was up towards the front of the lead train when that little bit of contact happened. But at least for right now, that front pack continuing to stay single file. Braxton Luis continuing to pull that train. And there on the left-hand side of your screen, Michael Whiting was leading that train. Well, now he isn't. Move Steve Yenish up to leading the second train of cars.
Speaking of other trains, I'm watching that little pack up in front of the leaders, which, by the way, is getting bigger and bigger in the windshield of Braxton Luis, but they have picked up a little bit of extra help in Todd Kirkwood in the 86. He has fallen back into their clutches as well. So now a fourth car in line with them, but the leaders are closing in on this 4-car group right now. This is 28th, 29th, 30th, and 31st. The last 4 cars on the lead lap, and on board with Braxton Luis, you can see them. They are getting a little bit bigger in his windshield with every passing second. Not too much longer before they catch up. But here's the thing, Peter. We talked about it. Yeah, we're not expecting them on pit road for a little bit. But are they going to catch him before pit stops happen if he stay green?
Well, let's see what lap times they're running. You know, that 3-car pack, actually now 4-car pack, as they did pick up Todd Kirkwood in his 86 machine. They're running 49.87 second laps or so. You compare that to your race leader, Braxton Luis. He ran a 49.68 last lap. So not a lot of time difference between that front group of 4 cars. Well, they're not the front group. They're actually the back group. The last few cars on the lead lap and your lead pack. So you can kind of see right there. That tells you the number. I mean, they're not losing a whole lot of time. In fact, last time, Braxton Luis and Scott Eckrich ran identical lap times. So if that group of 4 cars can stay lined up, they're doing what they need to. They're actually doing better, believe it or not, Greg, than that second group of cars, which is now 10. That's right, 10 seconds behind your race leader, Braxton Luis. We saw that second group of cars. They were 5 seconds, 6 seconds, 7 seconds. Now they're 10 seconds behind Braxton Luis. They've been racing and shuffling all those positions. Like you said, there they are right now, just not really well formed up. But that group of 4 cars, they're doing a fantastic job staying nose to tail. You got some highly skilled drivers, Scott Eckrich, Greg Evans. It isn't their first rodeo here around Talladega. And they're doing all they can, hoping to see a caution flag here before getting to that next round of pit stops. Because as soon as you start coming down pit road, all bets are off. They won't want to make the same mistake again. Speeding on pit road has possibly been their nail in the coffin here tonight at Talladega. There's your split screen. On the bottom left-hand corner of your screen, you have your race leaders. On the top right, you have that second pack led by the number 23 machine right there. Your 12th place machine, Steve Yenish, right now, with Nick Curling back behind them. But it seems like that second group here, Greg, has kind of sorted things out. They still don't look like they're fully lined up. They're not running down there on the yellow line either. Maybe the 23 of Steve Yenish thinks that middle group has some pace.
But they have gotten a lot better than what they were, say, 6-7 laps ago when they were all slicing and dicing back here. Things have definitely settled down in that second group. Still not ideally what they want, but yeah, Yanish seems to like being in that middle groove, and because of the way racing works here at Talladega, that's where you got to be, is right in the tire tracks of the car in front of you if you want to stick with them. And looks like everyone is inclined to do that. Still 11 seconds back right now of the race leader of Braxton Luis as you see him going off into turn 3. all kinds of different strategies playing out here, but that second group, when they were slicing and dicing all those laps ago, Peter, really seemed to be a nail in their coffin.
Yeah, so we will see whether or not they can get things back, but you can see that lead group right now, Braxton DeWeese, Michael Krobach, Thomas George, John Eckhart in the number 45 machine having a good run here tonight, the Camping World machine. Jackson Van Volkenberg started 37th, he's running in 5th. Tyler Seville, second place in points, he's running there in 6th. Then you have Will Worsler right behind his teammate there, Tyler Seville. Corey Silva in the number 94. We highlighted his troubles on pit road. Doesn't seem to be affecting him, though. Running in 8th. AJ Digby inside the top 10. Adam Jersey, Beef Jersey's Cheesecakes machine. And I believe we do have a cheesecake of the week this week. Greg, drum roll, please.
Well, we are in the beginning of spring, Peter. So, with that, the fruits of spring and summer are beginning to come out. So, we went with a spring theme. How about some blueberry lemon cheesecake here tonight at Talladega to celebrate the beginning of spring? You got some berries in there, got some citrus in there. Nothing screams springtime like some brand new fruits growing on the trees. Blueberry lemon, the official Greg Rentz cheesecake of the race.
I'll tell you what, I could do with probably 2 or 3 slices of that right now. I am absolutely starving up here in the booth. Someone bring us a hot dog or something. 11th place right now is the number 3.
Peter. We're about to see
okay,
we got 55 has his hand out the window. Second group.
All right, well, that's the second group of cars. Now, if you're looking up there in the top left-hand corner of your screen, we got about 30 laps to go. So this is right on the edge, Greg, of when you would think these drivers would be able to make it on pit road. But that second group is coming down right now. Yazek coming down. Jordan Harnish, Woody Mahan, Jamie Moore, Kevin Stone, Grant Brown, Kevin Klein, as well as one car in the back, Michael Whiting, the 44 machine, coming down to their pit box. I think this is a little bit early, Greg, but I could be very wrong. Maybe they're saving more fuel than kind of we... Actually, no. I take that perfectly back. I was thinking it was 26 to 30 laps, but no, it is 36 laps on fuel. So they're perfectly within their window. And, Greg, what they're trying to do is here that they're trying to get on and off pit road here now that they're inside their window, because they know that if they can stay on the lead lap and they get a caution, well, they will benefit from that caution. But much to the avail, they're about to go a lap down.
Yeah,
so now they don't want to see a caution. They want to see this thing play out and go green flag. But that group of cars just coming off pit road, very broken up, Greg.
Yeah, I see a couple more cars come down. These guys were the guys in the second group that did not come down. They were led down by the Yenis brothers, and there was one other car in there. But you saw, as the leaders came by, just how much difference there was in the speed. Nick Curling was the third car there that came down that lap by. But you saw, as they were coming off pit road, just how much faster this lead pack, being led by Braxton DeWeese, was. DeWeese still leading the way. More drivers calling out that they're coming down, but no one in this front line yet has called out that they're coming down pit road. So they will all stay out for at least another lap. But DeWeese still leading the way. The question is, though, now almost the entirety of the second and third pack have all pitted. Pretty much that's going to leave just this front pack left on the racetrack.
Yeah, and I don't blame him just going a little bit longer to try and hold on to that race lead, put some other drivers a lap down. I mean, we've seen those drivers in the second pack who have already pitted fall a lap down. So this front pack, as long as they can stay out there on the racetrack, Greg, they have those cars covered. So there's no point really them pitting early at this moment in time if everyone else has pitted on the lead lap. So they're going to continue to go out here, run laps. We think they have about 6 or so more laps of fuel, give or take 1 or 2 laps, before they absolutely have to come down and get some Sunoco race fuel here in the American Sim Racing Series. But I think for now they're just content to ride. We did see them pick up a couple of those lapped cars out there. Steve and Jeff Yenish were a couple of those lapped cars that front group picked up. Did break up that front pack just a little bit, but I don't think that that front group of cars is going to stay, apart from one another for all too long. We'll see if we got some more drivers coming down pit road, because I'm hearing that the number 5 machine, Braxton DeWeese, he's on the button coming down pit road this time.
And about half the pack is coming with him. So about half that front pack coming down. Looks like 7 of them on pit road this time.
From Van Valkenburg coming down, Michael Larch, Adam Jersky, got the number 45 machine on the pit road as well. Thomas George, Michael Krobach, all coming down with Braxton DeWeese, trying to get their final pit stop here tonight. They will be good to go to the end of the race. Jackson Van Valkenburg, he's rolling from his pit box. Anyone else having any issues? Braxton DeWeese, they dropped the jacks on the number 5 Chevrolet Camaro. He's down and away. Good pit stop by the number 12 team. Van Valkenburg will be side by side with Braxton DeWeese, but how about these two up at the front? Thomas George in the number 88 machine. He started tonight on the outside pole, just missing that Midwest Simulations pole award. He's going to come off pit road in second out of this bunch. Adam Jersky, the number 69, great pit stop for the Beef Jersky's Cheesecakes Emporium machine as we see the rest of the pack coming down pit road. Tyler Seville, Will Warser, AJ Digby, as well as the number 94, Corey Silva, all go into their pit box as we speak.
Peter, did you notice something when the Will Warser cars came down pit road just now? Tyler Seville was leading the race. However, there were 2 cars in front of him, the Yenish brothers, Steve and Jeff Yenish, 23 and 89. They were able to tack on just in front of the race leader. By doing that, they were able to stay on the lead lap. Now the problem for the Yenish brothers now is they are by themselves, and they could lose the draft with each other if they're not careful. However, they've got some help coming in behind them in the form of Loud Metal Motorsports. If they can get hooked up with Gazik, Mahan, and Harnish, all of a sudden you got a 5-car battle or 5-car draft deep in the field. But the Yenish brothers did a fantastic job staying on the lead lap there.
I'm watching some of these cars merge here on the backstretch, Greg. It looks like Adam Jersky in the number 69 machine. We highlighted his great pit stop. Thomas George in the number 88 machine. Looks like they're going to go 1-2 out of the cars that have pitted as things continue to cycle on through. Tyler Seville leading the next group of cars in front of his Will Warser Racing teammate, as well as AJ Digby, another one of those Will Warser Racing machines. So 3 of the Will Warser Racing Chevys lined up on the inside groove. The number 5 up there, Braxton DeWeese, he's up there with the number 12 of Jackson Van Valkenburg, the University of Utah machine up there. Michael Krobach, Corey Silva, and John Eckhart rounding out kind of your 10-car front pack. We did lose Michael Larch, the number 3 machine. He was in that front pack, but now he has dropped to the second group of cars. In fact, he just got passed by the Yenishes, working his way out of turn number 2 onto the backstretch. So now we went from 11 in the front pack down to 10.
Eckhart, the final group in line. Now, here's the thing right now. Neither pack is really in a solid line right now. Both of them are trying to shuffle their way through to get themselves the best possible position. Tyler Seville is taking the lead back in the number 11 with help from Will Worsler, his teammate and car owner AJ Digby lined up right behind them as this front pack tries to settle things down between them right now, get themselves back into that single file line that we saw before the pit stops. Try to set themselves up for the end of this race. Now only 1 car left on the outside, and he's going to come down there. That was DeWeese in the 5. Gets down in front of Van Valkenburg. So now you got 10 cars, single file, 8 seconds ahead of the next group, which is being led by Steve and Jeff Yenish.
And I'll tell you what, Greg, this is bad news for the field. You got Will Warser racing Chevys 1, 2, 3 right now. We didn't see a whole lot of passing under that last stint on those Goodyear rubber. I think with those 3 Will Warser Racing machines, if they can stay nose to tail, we don't see any more cautions, they might have a shot here of walking away with that, walking away with the win here tonight, because we just haven't seen a whole lot of passing out of the front group. We're going to have to see some brave drivers try that high line, see if they can break up that Will Warser Racing team, because really there's no other way to try and get to victory lane here tonight. Perhaps maybe the 69 of Jersey can drag the brake a little bit, see if he can get a little bit of separation so that second group of cars can get a big run on that front pack. I'm just not 100% sure what that group can do right now, but looking very, very good for Will Warser Racing. I know we got Nikki Worsler in the chat here tonight. She's rooting each and every one of those drivers on, but it is Tyler Seville up there leading the race. He's the only other driver, Greg, not named Scott Eckrich, not named Greg Evans, to go to victory lane this season. And here he is leading with 21 laps to go.
So Seville looking for his second win of the year. He's got his trusted teammates, Will Worsler and AJ Digby. And going back to what you mentioned about Jersky having to kind of drag the brake and set a run up, you can see him kind of doing that. You're on board with Tyler Seville right now. Behind him, Jersky is dragging the brake, but you got to have trust in the car behind you. And you know, without a shadow of a doubt, that Will Worsler Racing, they trust each other. You do not see a more tight-knit team in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Series than Will Worsler Racing. And here they are, 1, 2, 3. You know these three drivers up in the front, Seville, Worsler, Digby, they trust each other. They know what the others are going to do. When you're in a position like Adam Jersky right now, you're back there with Thomas George. You don't necessarily know what these guys you're with are going to do. You have to have that trust factor in the cars around you to make a move work at Talladega.
Yep, that is for sure. And like I said, I think it is very, very bad news for the field here tonight that those three are out front. There you see Jackson Van Valkenburg, one of the few Fords in this front pack right now. He's got another Ford right back behind him in Michael Krobach. They're running 9th and 10th in the lead pack. For the Toyota crowd, well, not a great showing for the Toyota bunch right now. Only John Eckhart in the number 45, the only Toyota in the front 10. Then you have a big gap back to Steve Yenish, Jeff Yenish. They're leading Brian Yazik, Woody Mahan, Jordan Harnish, Michael Larch has finally tagged onto that group. But I'm just looking here, Greg, I'm just looking at lap times. That second group of cars, there's not a whole bunch of them in there. But over the last 5 laps, the front pack has been averaging a 49.968. The second group, led by Jeff Yenish, about 0.2 of a second faster per lap. You do the math here, folks, with just about 20 to go, they wouldn't be able to catch the front pack. But if that front pack continues to slip up just a little bit, they get a little bit racy in that front pack, Greg, perhaps, just maybe, this group of cars led by Jeff Yenish can run down the front pack, but they're going to need this front pack to A, get racy, and B, they're going to have to work together really well.
And when do you think this pack is going to get racy? Because you know these guys back here, Jersky, George, Eckhart, Silva, these guys, they're not content to just ride, Peter. They're going to go for the win. At what point do you suspect them to make a move? If it stays like this where we've only got 10 cars, these guys can wait a little bit longer than, say, if we had 20 or so cars in the pack. You can afford to wait a couple extra laps to make your move because you don't have as many cars to worry about. But you know they're going to make their moves eventually. No one's going to be content to just ride it out and say, hey, you know what, it was a good point today. No, these guys want the win. They are here to win this race. So with that being said, if they can keep it going in that second pack, and when these guys get racy, the second pack has to keep their cool. They might be able to reel them in. The question is, when does the moving begin in this front pack?
I don't know. I mean, you're going to have to cover those 3 Will Worsler Racing machines up at the front of the field. I know, I think there might be a little bit of damage on one of those Will Worsler Racing machines. Will Worsler having some rear end damage on the number 29 machine. Not sure when he got that damage here tonight, but they look strong. They look fast. They're out front. They're right where you want to be here in the closing stages at Talladega. You see your front pack continuing to close in on that 3-car group, Greg. They still haven't gotten a lap down. Scott Eckrich, Greg Evans, and Johnny Avila now running 27th, 28th, and 29th. Just checking my scoring pile to see if we had any other pit road speeding penalties this last time round, and sure enough, we did. Richard Fletcher, the number 43 machine, one of the Will Worsler Racing entries here tonight. Pit road speeding penalty on his race car. He's currently being scored in 32nd position, multiple laps down here tonight at Talladega in the Sim Speed Shop 250. Folks, make sure you check out Sim Speed Shop. Posted a link in the description a little while ago. Some really, really awesome stuff that they have on their website. I myself am eyeing the brake bias knob that they have. Yes, that's right. You can go pick up one of their really cool standalone brake bias knobs, because I think the brake bias knob is honestly, Greg, a little piece of realism that you just don't see anywhere else. And Sim Speed Shop have a really, really good quality brake bias knob that you can pick up. And it's not all that expensive, so make sure you check them out here tonight on 3Wide TV before the conclusion of the Sim Speed Shop Wheelman Showdown Talladega 250. And as these laps do wind down, I think we're looking at possibly having a driver not named Scott Eckrich or Greg Evans get to victory lane. I think everyone watching here tonight will be excited to see that, all things considered, unless, of course, you are a Greg Evans or Scott Eckrich fan in the chat.
Ooh, Will Worcester taking a peek to the high side there of Tyler Seville. Got a big run down the backstretch. I think he got just a little bit more than he anticipated there and had to kind of check up a little bit and go to the high side of Seville. But fortunately, they were able to keep it down where they needed to be as they come up on this pack of Eckrich, Evans, and Avila. About a little over 2 seconds now between those two packs as the leader Seville tries to hold steady. Coming up on about 13 laps to go. And if you're the Will Worcester guys right now, you're just your heart's pounding in your chest right now because you know there's going to be a move made to try to break you guys up. You got to know when, you got to know where, and you got to worry about what's going on in front of you as well with this other pack here. Worcester, Seville, and Digby. What are they going to do, Peter? Are they just going to try to ride it out all the way on the bottom, or are they going to go into defense mode and try to watch what these guys behind them are doing?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, that front group right now, led by Tyler Still in the number 11 machine. Will Worcester there in second. Big question is, they're catching up to that front pack. What are they going to do when they catch those lap cars up in front of them? Because if they try to go to the high line, that might open up the door for the cars behind them. Of course, we have heard from race communications that lapped cars are supposed to stay high, but they're on the pace. They're not off the pace with anyone else. And we could see a shuffle right here because the Will Worcester racing machines, they're going to just slot in line right now behind them. No, they're going to jump up to the high side. I'm a bit surprised with that, Greg. I almost thought they would just stay in line with those lappers right in front of them. But they decide not to. They decide to go to the high line. Now, Will Worcester almost making contact there with AJ Digby. Those two teammates working together. Now they kind of slot back in the inside groove. So, that's kind of what I expected, Greg, for them to just kind of hold on to that inside groove and let the laps click by. That front group, they're in the position, and I say the front group, Worcester, Tyler Seville, and AJ Digby, not in that order, but they're in the position where they can be very defensive. It is their race to lose. They have 3 drivers there, and now the buffer of the cars in front of them, which they can just draft off. They can just draft off of those 3 cars in front of them. I'm sure a lot of the field didn't want to see them catch those cars in front of them because now those 3 cars can pull them along, and this just makes the Will Worcester Racing position out there on the racetrack that much stronger as these laps continue to click away. The second group of cars, they have gained a little bit of time. It is not enough, though. They're still 6.7 seconds behind your race leader, Tyler Seville. That group led by Jeff Yanish, Brian Yazik back there with Woody Mahan, Jordan Harnish, and Michael Larch tagging on with Steve Yenish. But then you have a long gap back to the 17th place machine of Nick Curling in the Curling Design Labs machine. We got a few looks of that pack back there, led by Curling, Stone, Alan Young, and Mark Myers. They're just inside the top 20. I know that Alan Young needs a good night because he is just on the inside of the top 20 in points. This is where you want to be guaranteed a starting spot here in the American Sim Racing Series Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series. But I gotta say, Greg, not a lot happening out there on the racetrack right here with 10 laps to go. Everyone kind of holding station. Will we see a charge from any of those drivers a little bit further back in the pack? You have to think, if you're Jackson Van Valkenburg, Michael Krobach, John Eckhart on the kind of on the back side of that front pack, you really don't have anything to lose to try and run a little bit higher groove to see if you can get a run going up there.
And you can kind of see Krobach and Eckhart are doing that. They're just a little bit higher on the racetrack than the rest of the field through turn 3 and 4 right there. They're trying to sniff it, and see what they can find on the outside. And Van Valkenburg thought about it as well. And there you see it again. Krobach and Eckhart going up a little bit higher right now. And they're going to have to work together here, these final two in line, because they don't have any other teammates here. Ooh, Eckhart may have lost the draft just a little bit, but he's going to get back into the slipstream of the 72 to close in back on him and try to set it up once again. As you see right there, Van Valkenburg, Silva, Deweese, these guys at the tail end of the field, plotting their move to try to get up there and break up the teammates. Silva taking a peek to the high side there in the turn number 3, backs out of it. So these guys are thinking of their move, Peter. The question is, are they in communications with each other saying, hey, when are we going to try to make our move and try to break these guys up? And who do you think is the key contributor in this? Take the Will Worcester cars out of the equation up there, top 3. From Jersky back to Eckhart, what driver do you think is the most important factor in these group of cars at the tail end trying to make their move up to the front?
I think probably the biggest factor right now is the number 88 machine, the Snap-on machine. I think that if you are currently Thomas George, Braxton Deweese, we know you mentioned this many times, Greg, that Braxton Deweese, he likes to mix things up in his number 5 machine. He's right behind the number 88 at Thomas George. I think if George made a move, I think that Deweese would go with him at this moment in time. I think that Deweese wants to try and get that high line running, and then if you're Jackson Van Valkenburg, Corey Silva, John Eckhart back there, what do you have to lose? You're on the back half of the top 10. You're not going to lose a whole lot of positions. I mean, you want to try and make a move. You want to have fun here, folks. I'll tell you what, riding in the line is not having all too much fun. There is a group of cars out there having a lot of fun right now. That is kind of the third pack of cars led by Alan Young in the 24 machine. They're mixing something up. They're racing back there for the 20th spot. If we're going to see a caution, it's probably going to come out of that group right now, because they're side by side here coming through the tri-oval. And whoa, here we go. Here comes the number 94 of Corey Silva. I think he heard me, Greg. He's back there. I said he doesn't have anything to lose. My big surprise is Braxton Deweese in the number 5 machine. He's still on the inside line. I expected him to go to the top side, but will the 88 of Thomas George, your outside pole sitter here tonight, will he jump to that high line, try and get in front of the number 94? Doesn't look like he's doing so just yet. There he goes. The 88 jumps to the high side. Braxton Deweese continuing to stay on the inside line, and doesn't seem like that outside line is just formed up just yet, folks. But just wait, give it a lap or two. Now that they have a new leader in the 88 machine, trying to pull that, and we got
there it is.
There's that group of cars back there. I just mentioned them, Greg, that if we're going to see a caution flag, it's going to come out of that group, and sure enough, it does here with about 5 laps to go at Talladega. Let's see if we can break down what happened here, but that's going to change everything here at Talladega. Going through turn number 3 and 4 here, 44 machine. I didn't think he was involved, and yeah, contact
right
there,
contact.
But yeah, the 44, Michael Whiting getting involved, and I think that was the number 82.
82, yeah.
Jamie Moore in the Black Widow machine. Let's see what happened here. 44 on the high line. There's the number 17, Kevin Stone, in the middle. And they go 3 wide here. And perhaps the 44, I think Whiting comes down there, Greg. He might not have gotten the 3 wide call from the spotter. And it was on from there. There goes Kevin Klein, the number 4 machine. He looked like he might have had it cleared if it wasn't for the iRacing net code. Tough break for him. Mark Myers in the 04 getting a piece of it as well. There goes Richard Fletcher. He was a couple laps down, and well, he kind of trying to blink his way through it, having some connection issues on his machine. But yeah, caution flag, that changes everything.
And one more look at it on board with Moore. You see right there the contact between him and Whiting. And he fought that thing for another couple seconds before it finally nosed into the wall. And it was on from there. Taking a look this from the group cam.
On board here with Jamie Moore. Yep, there's that contact. And just like that, we're under caution. And that's a tough break for Jamie Moore. Greg, he was so strong earlier in the race here. Got shuffled back with a couple of those green flag pit stops. But definitely was a great start to the race for Jamie here tonight. And a tough break for it to end up on the racetrack. There is the 4 of Kevin Klein getting involved in that one. Hopefully not too much damage on the University of Utah number 4 machine, and hopefully he can get that car patched up here for the finish.
All right, Peter, we're under caution. Anybody you think is going to come down pit road? You got a couple.
Yeah, we got a couple further back in the pack. You got 24 machine, Alan Young back there, Kevin Stone on pit road, Mark Myers, we know he got some damage. The number 1 machine, Jason Stewart, he got some damage earlier in the race. But how about that small pack of cars who were able to stay on the lead lap? This was the caution flag that they wanted. They're going to be back in the picture for this race. In fact, a lot of cars that, lost all that time to the race leaders, they're going to be in that front pack now. And, of course, the big question is going to be, are we going to see green-white checkers? The whole field's back together, and you know what that means, Greg. The chances of the big one happening are going up exponentially.
This one's not over yet. Right now, 28 cars being scored on the lead lap. And how big is this, Peter, for those drivers in the championship battle able to stay on the lead lap? Now they have their shot. They've been waiting for it all night. Now they have their shot.
Only time will tell. They're still mired deep in the pack, however, so it's going to be a while for them to try and get up to the front. There's Pete Baskins. He's been mired pretty deep in the pack as well. And the number 39 DMLC Racing Channel. These are a couple of cars who were close to that incident. Some of them a little bit ahead. There's the 84 machine. Good-looking ride for Woody Mahan. I really do like that white, blue, and black scheme that he has on that Ford Mustang. A couple of other cars around him also have some really stellar schemes. I love looking at the paint schemes that we have here and the sponsors we have here in the American Sim Racing Series, Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series. I mean, drivers like, Steve Yenish and Jeff Yenish, they got Tampa SUVRentals.com machines, really good-looking race cars. Gunskins, I really like the Gunskins number 41 machine of Tim Knott as well. Just kind of a very classic looking number 41. Of course, Gunskins.com sponsored several of the races earlier this season here on 3Wide TV in the American Sim Racing Series, Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series as well. So make sure you check out Gunskins.com. And pretty much everyone else who puts these things together, they got the links in the description here tonight for Sim Speed Shop. Make sure you check those out for your peripherals and all that good stuff here in the sim racing. Of course, got the Midwest Simulations Pole Award at the beginning of the night, one of the other series sponsors. Make sure you check out their spotlights that they have. But, Greg, just got word, speaking of spotlights, the lights are off on the pace truck, which means all these drivers are going to need to get their spotlights on these cars so they can figure out where they are in the pack. You haven't heard of the spotlights. It's an iRacing spotter product where it actually gives you lights and tells you whether or not you got a car clear, car low, car high, or you're clear. Just think of it like those blind spot indicators on your wing mirrors on a lot of cars these days. That's kind of what the spotlights are. And if you want to get one of those here, go check out our friends over at Midwest Simulations. But Greg, good news, the whole field's back together. We got a shootout here coming up at Talladega.
29 cars being scored on the lead lap for this restart, and it's a natural green-white checkered, Peter. What this means, we are going to take the green flag on lap number 93 of number 94 with no modifications to the lap count at this time. A natural green-white checkered. If we get a caution before we get back to the line, that will begin the overtime green-white checkered product. This is not an official counted attempt at a green-white checkered, as this is the natural flow of the race. Not in overtime just yet, but there will be 2 laps to go on this restart.
So definitely going to be a fantastic finish to this one. Of course, next week we go to Iowa for the HomeNet hosting Iowa 200. Big shout out to HomeNet Hosting for sponsoring the Grand National Series this year here in the American Sim Racing Series. Really cool to have them on board for next week's race right here on 3Wide TV, April 28th. But let's just get that plug in before we go back green. We did see a couple of drivers receiving some end of longest line penalties as well for that incident a little while ago. Nonetheless, up at the front of the field, it is the number 11, Tyler Seville, leading us back to the green flag. He's surrounded by his Will Worcer Racing teammates, but will this be a crux for Will Worcer Racing teams? They got to wait to the double L's. They've waited for the double L's to go back racing. Tyler Seville on the loud pedal, and look at the Will Worcer Racing teammates. AJ Digby going to move up in the second. Will Worcer is going to slide in behind the number 14 machine, and it is Will Vorster Racing. 1, 2, 3. Greg, do you think they all worked that one out as a team together?
Oh yeah, that was definitely textbook teamwork there by Will Vorster Racing to get themselves lined back up 1, 2, 3, and now the boss man in third. He's got his two drivers right in front of him, Digby and Seville. What can they do here to hold off the rest of the field? As you're on board with Thomas George right there. Excuse me, that was Braxton Deweese in the number 5 who has moved up into the 4th spot. Deweese is going to be the one who's going to have to make the move to try to break up the Will Vorster Racing trio up front as they come down towards the white flag. One more lap to go. If they get to the line, looks like they will. And it's on from now. White flag in the air. One more trip around Talladega. Does anybody have anything for the teammates?
Tyler Seville, the number 11 machine, trying to get the win here at Talladega. The outside line has fallen back. It is now led by the number 72 of Michael Krobach, but he's mired deep in the pack. Halfway down the backstretch, it is still Tyler Seville. Will anyone duck out to try and challenge him for the win? AJ Digby looked like he might have tried to duck out. Contact between the 29 and the 5 machine. Deweese is pushed down below the yellow line, and just like that, that group is going to start blocking up like a toilet coming out of turn number 4. It is still between the number 14 of AJ Digby and the 11 of Tyler Seville. Will anyone catch him? Seville going through the trial for the final time, coming to the checkered flag.
Seville's got it, coming off, takes the checkered flag. Second win of the season for Tyler Seville. They were 4 wide at the line, deeper in the field, but Tyler Seville wins at Martinsville and follows it up here 2 weeks later with a win at Talladega. From the smallest track to the biggest track, it doesn't matter. Tyler Seville, second win of the season.
Braxton Deweese is going to come home with a 3rd place finish. We'll see whether or not any of the American Sim Racing Series officials say he was forced below the yellow line, or whether he did that move voluntarily there going off into turn number 3. We'll see if we can get a quick word from the scoring tower on that one. Adam Jersky in the number 69. Beef Jersey's Cheesecake Machine gonna finish in 4th. Will Worcester had a disaster of a last lap, really disaster of a last half lap there, Greg, as he dropped all the way down to 12th.
So Will Worcester was up in the top 3 there, coming through the checkered. Unfortunately, with everything that happened at the end, he's going to fall back. It's in the official's decision on whether or not Braxton Deweese will hold on for 3rd, but it's all about that young man. Tyler Seville going to burn it down here on the front stretch for his 2nd win of the season. It's a 1-2 for Will Worcester Racing. Question is, will it be Deweese or Jersky? I went back and took a look, and Braxton Deweese had all 4 tires back above the yellow line before he got the nose in front of Worcester. Unfortunately, it is not my decision, but from what I saw, it looked like that was a clean pass to me and by Deweese for the 3rd spot. However, it's not my decision to make, as Seville burns it down here on the front stretch.
Yeah, and you have to think that I think Deweese actually had that cart to the inside of Will Worcester. Great save by Will Worcester in that number 29 machine as well after they made contact there going off into turn number 3. So that was definitely very, very impressive for them not to win it. It was very close to a whole bunch of cars ending their night on the wrecking ball, but all things considered, kind of a wild finish to the night here at Talladega. We had a wild start to the night, and we had a wild finish to the night. I think we had, the first caution flag on lap 3, and then we had the last caution flag with 3 laps to go. Only 2 caution flags here tonight at Talladega here in the Sims Speed Shop, Talladega 250 here on 3 Wide TV. We'll see if we can get some of those post-race interviews lined up for you folks. We're going to take just a brief moment to step away. We'll be right back from Talladega, Alabama. All right, folks, welcome back to Talladega, Alabama, where the Sim Speed Shop Talladega 250 has come to its conclusion. You're still watching the Will Worcester Racing teammates celebrate out here on the high banks of the 2.66 mile super speedway, but we're going to catch up with tonight's third place finisher, Braxton DeWeese. Braxton, Peter Short, 3Y TV booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I do.
Well, I'll tell you what there, bud. What a great run from you here tonight. You led a whole lot of laps there in the middle of the race, but that last green flag pit stops didn't quite work out for you. You kind of got leapfrogged by the Will Worcester Racing machines. Anything you think you could have done differently to get around them?
Coming on the pit road for that last green flag pit stop, I slid just a teeny bit too forward into my pit box, and I think that was the deal breaker there. But I feel like if I would have had that clean pit stop there, I feel like we would have been able to come out close to them, if not in front of them. Which, I mean, if you come out in front of them on pit road, you're pretty much going to stay there for the rest of the race. So trying to have a really good pit stop and trying to get that track position before that pit stop is very key. But it's just hard to get track position in general.
Well, I'll tell you what, Braxton. You mentioned that you think if you would have come out in front of them, you would have been able to stay there. This current package that iRacing has put on these cars, now, of course, it has nothing to do with what the American Sim Racing Series is doing. It's what iRacing has done to these cars. It's very controversial. Some people like it, some people don't. What are your thoughts about this current Cup package, which we didn't see in the season opener back at Daytona?
I hate how it's single file, and I hate how you have to have so many people to go up to the high side to be able to even try to have anything. I mean, we have to have majority of the field, if not way more than half of the cars to go up to the high side for anything to even happen. And so I mean, but I like the aspect of it. I like how you're able to, like, the air bubble and the way you're able to suck up to the car and the side drafting. I actually use the side draft to my advantage there, being able to pass Michael to be able to stay in front of him after pit stops. But if iRacing is able to make it to where we're able to drive on the outside and have 2, possibly 3 lanes of racing like this, and not have to have majority of the field up there in that line to make it work, then I think this will be very good racing.
Yeah, this current package reminds me of what we used to have back in the day on NR 2003, where the low line, always seemed to have just a little bit of an advantage. And as a race car driver, it can be kind of frustrating, especially when you're in your position, 4th place in line, and just kind of not willing to jump out there. But all things considered, great run there right at the end. Tell us about that run that you got on Will Worcester there on the final lap.
Yeah, I was just trying to get back just a little bit to the 88 car. Try to do what Brad Keselowski did in the 2021 Daytona 500 when he backed up, tried to get a run on Logano. So I was thinking about that and seeing if I could get a run to go. I didn't think anybody would probably go with me if I did that. So I just got that little bit of a run, looked to the outside a little bit to act like I was going out there. He thought I was going out there, and then I made that hard left to go down to try to get inside of him, because I saw there was it was close, but I figured I could get my car in that hole, and I was there, and he kind of put me down there, and I was on the apron. And I was like, oh no, I was in this position before in another league where I got on the apron, and it didn't go well. So I knew to just stay calm and be easy coming right back on up, and that's what I did.
Yeah, definitely an exciting end to the race, and a great run there you got at the end. Just maybe a little bit too late here at Talladega. But next week we go to Iowa Speedway for the HomeNet hosting sponsored event. What are your thoughts about Iowa?
Oh, I'm a real big fan of Iowa. I really think the Cup cars should go there in real life. I feel like it'd be a really good race. I know that the Cup cars there, multiple lanes work, so don't be surprised if you see cars all over the place next week at the track.
Definitely going to be a fun one right here on 3Y TV, folks. You're not going to want to miss it. Same place, same time right here. Braxton, before we let you go, any shout-outs?
Yeah, I want to thank all my sponsors. Blaze Designs, who does my paint schemes. I really do appreciate it. They look great out front and great in general. I also want to thank my other sponsors, as in Zimmerman Concrete, Ron's Pizza, Bennett's Publical, Ravenwood Enterprise, Scott Martin at Jeff Schmidt, NASCAR Technical Institute, Blaze Designs, of course. I want to thank 3Y TV y'all for broadcasting. Y'all do a great job. I love going back and watching the broadcast to just see how it was and stuff, and I always enjoy it. And I want to just thank Paladin for coming on board as well. They're one of the newest sponsors, and we just got a win with them in another league. So I appreciate all my sponsors and all the family and friends and supporters that tune in and watch me race. I try to put on a good show for y'all, even though for what we got. So hope you all enjoyed. Looking forward to the next race.
Absolutely, Braxton. Great race here tonight. Good luck next week at Iowa.
Thank you.
All right, folks. Well, let's move on to tonight's second place finisher, Twitter verified AJ Digby, running right there behind his teammate AJ. Big question's going to be, did you ever think about trying to get around your teammate Tyler Seville there in the closing laps?
Coming into 3 was the first time it really came into my mind. Otherwise, I was just going to push him straight to the wind. But when I was mid in turn 3, I looked in my mirror and there's a huge gap, and I was like, hey, if I get a run, I'm going to try it. But with the way the arrow worked in the bubble, it just never really closed up, just kind of stuck there. In hindsight, and maybe with a little bit more draft practice with groups, I could have maybe backed off a little bit and then gotten a run. But I was flat out in it thinking I was going to get a run like in the old ways, and it never came. But all in all, very, very happy with it, and very happy for Tyler. When that final restart happened, my only goal was to push him and hopefully would be top 2, and that's what ended up happening.
Yeah, definitely a great night to be part of the Will Worcester Racing, almost finishing 1, 2, 3 there. What was your thoughts there when you came off pit road, you got out there on the racetrack there for the final green flag pit stop, and you guys realized, hey, we're 1, 2, 3 right now?
Well, it's always great to be 1, 2, 3, especially when you're together at the front, able to be in a little bit of control of the race. We were trying to move, and Doug, who had gotten wrecked out early, was helping us figure out how far back that second pack was, and we eventually got to a point where they really weren't catching up, and that was our main goal, just trying to stay in line and be up front. And so we didn't mind sticking behind the other cars because we were moving fast with them. So we just kind of hung there and was trying to log some laps to get towards the end until that caution came out, and then we were up front and knew that we could get a good restart together once we hit the double L's on the straightaway. And as soon as that happened, we were gone. It was a really good feeling to come through that tri-oval and not be 5 wide or dodging wrecks as usually happens at Talladega. So very happy, and I'll take it. This 14 Chevy was really fast today. So got to thank Will Worcester for the special chassis, you know.
Well, definitely it seemed to help you out here tonight. We mentioned kind of at the top of the show that you were on the outside of the top 10 in points here tonight. You're going to bump up to 9th position in points in that number 14 machine. You had a great start to the season. It looked kind of like things had kind of gone off the rails over the last couple of weeks. 20th at Richmond, 22nd at Martinsville, 33rd at Texas. But here tonight, maybe getting things back on track.
Yeah, got a little bit of the bad news bears, a little bit of luck issues, a little bit of just bad races. Had to fix my qualifying a little bit. Was struggling a little bit there, but all in all, wasn't having terrible races. Was putting solid races together, and just knew that eventually it would turn around. Obviously, this is a restrictor plate, or open super speedway, so anything can happen. But excited to try to carry those momentum through. The last couple tracks are not track favorites, I would say. Martinsville's not a good place to not have feet when you got to brake and be on the gas and all that kind of stuff. So excited to move on into the next couple of laps or a couple races. Obviously, this one went well. Iowa, I won last year and is a track I like. Kansas, I like. And then we get into road courses. So excited for some of that in the upcoming races, but always good to get a good finish, gather a lot of points and move on forward and hopefully carry some of this momentum forward.
Yeah, and of course, you mentioned Iowa. How cool is it to go back to your spot of your only Premier Cup Series win next week?
It's going to be exciting. I got a little bit of strategy luck to be able to get me out front. I was fast there, but not what I would consider normally fast enough to win, except for strategy got me up front, and then I was able to finish it. So we'll see what happens, especially with the multi-grooves. It could be pretty interesting there at Iowa. It'll be fun to practice over the next week and see how it goes.
Definitely it will. AJ, I know you got shout outs to give, so let's hear them.
Yeah, as always, you guys for the great broadcast with 3Y TV. I enjoy watching the broadcast every single week and definitely can't wait to watch this one. Got to thank the sponsors on the car, High Flow and Custom Paints and Diecast. Got to thank everybody in the league for the great racing. It was a pretty clean, good race here today. And then league owners Jim and Sam for what they do putting into the league, and just everybody, Will Worcester teammates, Will, me, and Tyler definitely crushed it all today. Richard had a good finish as well, and then everybody who was watching, whether you're supporting us or supporting other drivers, it means a lot to have people watching and have our support, and thank you very much for that.
Absolutely. Well, AJ, congratulations on a runner-up here tonight. Best of luck next week in your race.
Thank you very much, Peter.
All right, well, that's going to do it here for our second place finisher here tonight, AJ Digby. Let's see if we can dial up tonight's race winner, driver of the number 11 machine, getting to victory lane for the second time this season, Tyler Seville. Tyler, you've done it on the small track. You've done it now on the big track here at Talladega. Tell us about it.
Right, how about that? It seemed like after those initial pit stops, those green flag pit stops, we were lights out. We executed flawlessly, getting on and off pit road, and that put us in position where we were able to hang on to the win with that green white checker.
Yeah, without a doubt, all the Worcester Racing machines seem to be on point here tonight, especially on those pit stops. I asked the same question to AJ a little while ago, but after that second green flag pit stop, you came out 1, 2, 3 with your teammates behind you. What was going through your mind at that point?
Well, the main things was just stay in line because we knew there was a second pack back there. Doug was out of the race, so he was able to help us get the times, because the last thing we wanted to do was give that second group a sniff of the draft. We didn't want them to catch us at all. And that played a part in when we caught a couple lap cars there towards the end of the race. We just tucked up behind them so we could pull out, because we knew that it was going to be tough for anybody to pass 3 of us on the high line. So we were just, as long as the WWR car got in victory lane, that was the ultimate goal.
Well, you were definitely able to accomplish that, getting to victory lane here tonight. Tyler, 2 wins on the season. You're the only driver not named Scott Eckrich or Greg Evans to get to victory lane. You must be feeling pretty good about that at this point in time.
Yeah, I think there's been a couple races where my finishes haven't reflected the way I've ran, like Homestead in particular. But if I can just keep notching top 10s and top 5s, the wins will certainly come. Greg Evans and Scott Eckrich, they're the best of the best in this league. So any day that I could run with them and sometimes beat them, that's a great day.
Yeah, so you will be in the second position in points, leaving Talladega Super Speedway here tonight, and looking really, really good in that number 11 machine into next week's race at Iowa. What are your thoughts about going to Iowa for the HomeNet hosting Iowa 200?
I'm looking forward to it. I will say it's probably not my strongest track, but if I know my teammates, we'll put in the work to make sure that we all have decent speed. AJ won that race last year, so I know that we have speed as a team. So we'll put in the work, and we'll see if we can't have a repeat with either me or one of my teammates next week.
Absolutely. Going to be a fun one right here on 3Y TV. Before we let you go, Tyler, any shout-outs?
Yeah, have to shout out my teammates. We all worked great together today. Have to shout out Jordan Berry and Custom Paints and Diecast. He was on board today. He helps us out a lot too with paint schemes and just strategy calls sometimes. So shout out to him. And if anybody's watching on Twitch, we got to shout out our fans on there. I know there's tons and tons of them there. But yeah, ultimately just thankful to my teammates today.
And also, folks, for the record, Tyler Seville closing in to just 2 points behind Scott Eckrich in the Sim Speed Shop Wheelman Showdown as well with this win. Tyler, congratulations here tonight at Talladega. Best of luck next week.
All right, thank you.
All right, folks, that's going to do it for your race winning interview. We'll see if we can bring up kind of the post-race results here for you guys back at home. Definitely was a fantastic night here. Let's look at the point standings before we get to tonight's finishing order. These are the official point standings after tonight. Greg Evans, Tyler Seville, first and second in points. Of course, it wasn't the night Greg Evans wanted or Scott Eckrich. That's how Tyler Seville was able to stay up there in second in points. Brian Yazik, fourth position. Corey Silva right there with him. Adam Jersky, Will Worcester, Doug Mullins, AJ Digby, Michael Krobach rounding out your top 10 kind of in those points. Here we go, looking a little bit further back. And it looks like we kind of stuck on that screen. But Alan Young back there, I know he didn't have the night he was looking for as well. He stays 18th in points. Steve Yenish, John Eckhart, and Danny Gutierrez was not in tonight's race. He's going to drop out of the top 20 in points. So that's going to be a battle with Jackson Van Volkenberg and John Eckhart to try and stay up into the 20th position in point, as well as Alan Young, Steve Yanish. That 20th position looking a little bit vulnerable for a couple of drivers right there. And they look a little bit further back in the point standings here after tonight's Sim Speed Shop Wheelman Showdown Talladega 250. Let's see if we can bring up the race results. However, it was Tyler Seville taking home the win in his Will Worcester Racing machine. AJ Digby finishing in second. Braxton Deweese, great run for him. His first podium here in the American Sim Racing Series Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series. Adam Jersky coming home in fourth in the Beef Jersky's Cheesecakes number 69 machine. Jeff Yenish in fifth. Thomas George in the 88 machine started on the outside pole, comes home in sixth. John Eckhart finishing in seventh. Michael Larch picked up the Midwest Simulations Pole Award at the top of the show. He comes home with an 8th place finish. Brian Yazik and Michael Krobach, a couple of the Loud Pedal Motorsports teammates right back there, rounding out your top 10 with each of their HPPSimulations.com Fords. 11th position here tonight, Corey Silva. He's up there in the point standings, 4th position in points. Behind him, 12th place, Will Worcester. Jackson Van Volkenberg, 13th. Jordan Harnish, 14th. Woody Mahan. Greg Evans coming home 16th. Tim Knott, Scott Eckrich 18th. Pete Baskins 19th. Johnny Avila in 63. The Canadian driver finishing in 20th. Nick Hurling was fast early on, finishes 21st. Jason Stewart 22nd. Steve Yenish 23rd. Kevin Stone, Alan Young 24th and 25th. Mark Myers, Michael Whiting 26th, 27th. Todd Kirkwood, Kevin Klein, who was involved in that late race accident, finishing 29th. Grant Brown, he was pretty much stuck a lap down for a majority of the night, finishing in 30th. Richard Fletcher had a pit road mishap and sped. He finished 31st. Jamie Moore, also very fast early in the race, got caught up late in an accident. Troy Haight, Mitch Brown, Adam Hogland, Evan Black, Jared Haggerty, Doug Mullins, and Jeremy Manning, all those drivers having issues throughout the middle portions of the race. They fell multiple laps down and were not able to keep their cars up at race pace, and eventually pulled off the racetrack on their own accord. Brockton Packard down there did not start here tonight at Talladega. Well, folks, I think that's going to do it here tonight for the Sim Speed Shop Wheelman Showdown Talladega 250. Make sure to check out them here tonight on your way out. Big shout out to our friends over at Sim TV for the camera angles we brought to you here tonight at the Talladega Super Speedway. And we will see you next week for the HomeNet hosting Iowa 200. Same place, same time, right here on the channel. But until then, stay safe, and we shall see ya.